Hello, Mohammed. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Thank you. Testing for the YouTube stream. Testing for the YouTube stream. Testing for the YouTube stream. Testing for the YouTube stream.
Are we live? Thank you. We've actually corrected the YouTube audio issue for all the viewers on YouTube. Can I ask that the AM stream has ended and that any viewers please connect to the new AM stream for the Scarborough Committee of Adjustment hearing if you wish to continue viewing the hearing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. We're back. We have resolved the technical issue. As staff mentioned, please, if you wish to view the stream on the YouTube channel, please tune into the new AM session for this morning, the morning session, new morning session for Scarborough District hearing. Okay, so we confirmed the minutes of the meeting. I would now ask if of the committee members and staff if there are any conflicts of declarations of conflict of interest.
Through the chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members of the committee, I see none. There are no conflicts of interest being declared. Thank you. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you received any requests for deferral for the items that are listed on in the morning session?
Through the chair, we have 5 deferral requests in the morning session. They are items 1, 2, and 3. It's the same owner and applicant, and that's 94 Danforth Road.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Secretary Treasurer. I will have staff. Can we have the owner or the agent who's representing? This is for 94 Danforth Road.
Might as well put the interpreter on. Okay.
Oh, the interpreter. Okay. So the
Morning.
Good morning. Is this Helen Pang?
Yes, this is she.
Hi. Thank you very much, Helen. So we have a request for deferral on your application, 94 Danforth Road. May I know the reason for the request for deferral?
Yeah, so the reason is we had received the report for action from community planning on March 29th in the afternoon. So since this was the same date as the documentation submission deadline for this hearing, there unfortunately wasn't sufficient time for us to create a response to the report and submit in time for this hearing's deadline. So the memo was submitted past the deadline. And we consider this memo to be very important for our application review. So since the submitted memo can't be considered for this hearing, we would like to request a deferral for the next hearing.
Okay, staff, could you please confirm if the community planning staff report or the memo was received in time and met the deadline?
It was received It was received by the written submission deadline.
It was received by the, so Helen, going back to you, staff have confirmed that the material was received within the time. Now, I understand you have concerns, the community planning has recommended refusal of the application, and you have concerns. So, so I can confirm that the memo was received in time. Now, what is your objective here to seek deferral request?
So the memo that was created using the report from community planning wasn't considered since it was submitted past March 29th, past the submission deadline for this hearing. We received the report from community planning on that very same day in the afternoon. So there's just, there simply just wasn't enough time for us to create that memo and submit it in the submission deadline.
Okay, but when the application was deferred on the, at the February hearing, community planning, you requested for deferral and the committee granted the deferral for you to go and discuss the application with community planning. Did you get a chance to speak with community planning? And if so, what was the results? I'm assuming that they were still having some concerns, but could you provide some information on that?
Yeah, sure. So it was my father who was in contact with them. He mentioned that he had reached out to them a few times, and this final report that they shared on March 29th, they did not provide it prior to that date, and they were unable to do so before, despite him trying to reach out multiple times. So there seemed to be some delay there that actually influenced us being able to submit our memo as a result for this hearing's deadline.
Okay, but you and your father were aware that community planning had concerns with the application, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So what I'm hearing is that you or your father did not get an opportunity to connect with community planning since February deferral and March and today, until you received the report, correct?
My father's online. I think he can best confirm that since I wasn't as close to that. But from what he mentioned to me, he had tried to reach out, but they did not provide him the report. So I think there was contact.
It's not about the report. Sorry, I'm cutting you. It's not about the report. It's about, was there any communication or discussion held with community planning since February?
Maybe my father can chime in if someone can unmute him.
Sure, we can unmute him. He's unmuted now.
爸爸，他们那个 community planning 有跟你联系吗？他们给你报告之前。Sorry, there seems to be a technical difficulty.
Okay, I have few times to contact community planner, and I ask any update report from them. They just ignore me, and I revised my plan in response to the last report from them. They don't they disagree the third floor, the third story, and disagree the building height and main wall height. I reduced building height from 10.195 meter to 93 meter. And I reduced the main wall height from 9.15 meter to 82 meters. But I can't remove the third floor.
Okay.
And I have, so I resend them and ask their opinion.
Okay.
They ignore me. And you can, I already sent the reason in memorandum delivered online on April 4th. You can find the reason on that. So for me, as long after I received the report from the community planner, in response to the report, I sent memorandum. I disagree the planner's opinion. I gave so many evidence, and I used the zoning bylaw. Unfortunately, my memorandum was delivered April 4th, 2002. It's after deadline. So I was on stand. This hearing will take my memo into consideration, but it's very important for me. And I wish the panel to have my memorandum before the hearing. This is based on procedure fairness. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So if I look at the deadlines and submissions, I think the deadlines by community planning were met. They submitted the report as they should have by the deadline. So the report was submitted by the deadline. Because the timeframes for these applications are always tight, so that's why the deadlines are like that. Having said that, I'm not sure if this is a procedural unfairness matter, but I hear that you made the revisions that community planning had concerns with. You made the revisions. I guess from what I understood, you tried to contact them. You could not contact them, or you were not able to connect with them. And then you saw the report with concerns again, correct?
Basically, I believe community planner try to take advantage of the deadline requirements.
Okay, I think we should refrain from making assumptions. As long as they met their deadline, that's what's important. We should not be assuming what was the person trying to do there. But I think they met the deadline, and that's important. But I also hear you. I clearly understand, and I hear you, that you tried to connect with them, you tried to explain, and unfortunately you were not able to for whatever reason that may be. Okay, committee members, any questions for the applicant? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the applicant, this is your hearing, and you have the opportunity today to present the information that you wish to present with the variances. It doesn't really matter what you said back to community staff. We're here to listen to your variance and why you think it should be approved. Do you wish to proceed?
So, Alan or Helen, maybe one of you.
Yeah, I will.
You will.
The community.
So
Okay.
in response to that question, will the submitted memo be in consideration if we do proceed, even though it was submitted past the deadline?
Yes, why wouldn't we?
you send
Whatever you've
today
sent.
will be considered.
Yeah, so whatever you have sent to us will be considered. So what's the date of the memo that you're referring to? I have a couple of memos here. What's the date of that memo that you want us to consider today?
爸爸，你发的 memo 是哪一天发的？
I sent memo on April 4th,
April 4th.
2002.
Is that in the supplementary agenda?
April 1st. April 1st. It's online now. on my,
Just wait for a
I-
second. We're confirming the memo and where to find it. Just bear with us for a second. Yeah, because my understanding is that things continue to come until later. Eric, for the notice for this one, it's the same. It's January 31st, dated January 31st. Or is there a revised notice from March or for this hearing? Is the room unmuted? Okay, thank you. So, Alan, yes, so staff did confirm that the memo was received, except that it was past the deadline. So the procedure is that any written submissions received after the deadline are not included on the agenda. And this is consistent for all applications. So unfortunately, I will not be able to refer to that memo, but we have on our file on the agenda several other memos from you. There's one dated February 10th, and then there's another one dated February 15th. And then there's, actually, these are the older ones. These are the previous ones, except the one from February 10th. So we have a memo dated February 10th. No, actually not.
yes,
No, it says the hearing date, but what's the date of the memo?
data memo is April 1st, 2002.
April 1st, you said? 4th, April 4th. So unfortunately,
April 1st.
unfortunately, we can't use that because it was received after the submission deadline. And staff have confirmed that submissions that are received after the deadline are not included on the agenda for committee's review. Okay?
If I may, that is the reason for our deferral requests, because that memo can't be considered for this hearing. And since the report was received March 29th, there was not time to submit that memo for March 29th deadline. So that is the reason for our referral request, actually. Sorry, deferral request.
Okay, thank you for that, Helen. Members of the committee, this is the situation, and a deferral is being requested for the reasons that they did not have enough time to provide a rebuttal memo, which could be reviewed by the committee today. Yes, Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I would suggest that they read that memo to us. That is their presentation, and we can consider the application and whatever they want to say. That's the purpose of today's meeting.
So we are in the vetting of the agenda, and we have to make a decision on the deferral request. Should the committee not defer this application right now and hear it, then the committee will have to make a decision when we get to the hearing. Yes, Member Said.
Madam Chair, I was considering on the same point, like we are in the vetting stage of the agenda. I don't know the technicality of that. So could we come back to this agenda point during the discussions and we consider the community planning report as well as the deferral request from the applicant and make a decision on that?
So we'll have to make a decision, but we'll not be able to defer the application. Okay. This is why we
So
do the
at
deferral
this-
requests up front.
Okay, so Madam Chair, taking this point for that, so actually I'm still not clear. The applicant have mentioned that they have submitted this memo, which was after the deadline, and I can see that there are like 7 different changes has been mentioned there. So unless the applicant make it clear to us, like these changes are really gaining point towards getting a consensus with the community planning rejections, and if it is a positive change, we can consider it, and if it is not helping towards that rejections point, I think we can take a decision right now.
Okay, any other member? Any comment? Member Gary?
Yes, Madam Chair, just a question of clarification. Did I understand you to say that it was deferred in February, that there's been a prior deferral of this item?
That is correct, Member McKay. It was deferred in February at the request of the applicant to go back and speak with the community planning to resolve the concerns.
Well, then my view would be that we should proceed with the merits today and prepared to vote along those lines.
Okay, we heard the applicant say that they're requesting deferral because they're unable to provide a rebuttal to the more recent community planning staff report recommendation. Keeping that in mind, you still think that we should hear the merits of the application today and make a decision on it. And the committee and the applicant could use that as their presentation material to committee later on. Okay, all right. Any other comment? Okay, so I'll go back to Helen. Helen, you heard the committee members would be prepared to listen to your memo or any verbal presentation that you would like to make today. We can also bring up the memo. Yes.
Through the chair, I think you should, the committee should vote on the deferral
Yes, we
request
will.
before proceeding.
Yeah, we will. I'm just giving a little context to
Thank you.
Helen, and then I will come to the vote. So Helen, going back to my thoughts here, so committee would like to proceed with the application, with hearing the application and make a decision on the application today. And as part of your presentation, when we come to your item, you will have an opportunity to provide your responses that you have included in your memo. And you will have 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Understood. So to clarify, we should be able to verbally communicate
That
the
is
memo
correct.
that we.
Yes, you will have your 5 minutes and you can tell us whatever you want to in that 5 minutes, including what you've included in the memo. Okay,
Could you allow me just really quickly to translate that to my father?
sure.
Sure he understand. 爸爸他们说我们有机会去那个告诉他们去说那个 memo， 不一定要他们能看我们，他们会给我们5今天去 explain 那个 memo， 行吗？
然后呢，今天做决定吗？
对，
我还是要求这个延期。我发现我的那个revise plan 没有 upload 这个 file。
load。
我还是需要一个时间，我需要延期，这个做一个准备。我直接跟他们讲吧。Hello,
Yes.
all members.
Mm-hmm.
I'm nervous now, and I prefer. Yeah, you understand my English very limited, and I have very difficult time to contact community planners.
Okay, no, we're
I
past that
saw that-
point. Alan, I think we're past that point. You heard what I meant. What I said was that we are prepared to listen to your comments and your rebuttal and your memo. Whatever you included in your memo, we're prepared to deal with it and hear it out today. Okay, so we're not saying that we are not prepared to review it. We will review it and we will consider it and make a decision on your application today. Should the committee not grant you a deferral? We have not voted on it. I took the opportunity to explain to you the process. I still have to go to the committee, ask for their vote, whether they will defer the application or not. If they do not defer the application, then we will hear the hearing, we will hear your item today. You will get your opportunity to tell us about your memo and what you've included in your memo.
Transparently, I think from what I understand of my father, he doesn't feel very prepared to communicate the memo verbally because he has very limited language skills. And I am just translating for him. I'm not close to the situation as well. So I would like to be able to answer all your questions, but because there's been no preparation time, I think he's just a bit nervous about if he'd be able to present it to its full kind of potential to the committee.
Okay, all right.
Fine.
Thank you very much.
My mood now is not ready to speak anything.
Okay, fair enough.
Pray.
No, that's okay.
Sorry
Thank you.
about
I think we've heard your concerns and we understand. I still have to ask the committee for a vote. So committee members, you heard the concerns and the comments. I would like to have a motion on the request for deferral, please. Member Gary, please go ahead.
Chair, I would move to refuse this request for deferral at this time. So, yes, I would I would deny the request.
Okay, so we have a motion to deny the request for deferral. May I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I second that motion. I believe we should hear this application, actually applications 1, 2, and 3 today.
Okay, so we have a seconder. Member Macaulay seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? Member Ehor opposes it. The motion is carried and the application has not been deferred. So Alan and Helen, we will hear the application and come back to it in the main body of the meeting. Thank you. Okay, so items 1, 2, and 3, the request for deferral has been refused and is going to be held for further discussion. What is another request for deferral?
Through the chair, the next request is item 8. It's 28 Aspendale Drive. It's deferral request sine die at the request of the applicant to address concerns identified by community planning and the neighbors.
Okay, thank you. So this is item number 8 for 28 Aspendale Drive. And can I please have the owner, Suman Sethuraman, please? Okay. All right, Suman, you're with us?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. So Suman, could you please explain the purpose of your request for deferral?
Sure. My name is Suman Sethuraman. I'm legal owner of this property that is 28 Aspendale Drive, Scarborough, M1P 4G6. And we have submitted this application to build a two-story dwelling. And we got 2 objections letter whereas I could only acknowledge or I could understand only one of them because they have mentioned their address. But the other objection letter doesn't have a proper address and doesn't fall on the same street.
Okay.
But I do love to live in this neighborhood.
That's okay.
We will be.
Suman, the only reason why I asked was a quick response. Why do you want this deferral?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain, that we would love to live with this neighborhood, and that's why I want to see whether is there anybody else having any objections to meet the community people. But what I'm not clear is after this deferral, what am I supposed to do? Because I only have one objection letter and multiple verbal approvals. Like I had support letters and everything. So I do not know, but I'm still, because everybody is recommending me to go for deferral and I did it. But otherwise, personally, I'm not clear at all. Sorry if I'm deviating from your question, but that's my answer.
No, I appreciate that. Okay, so the purpose of your deferral, so you're requesting a deferral because you want to go back and speak to the neighbors who have concerns, or at least meet with your neighbors and help them understand, even the ones that don't have concern or haven't said anything. Reach out to them, connect with them, show them your plans, what your intentions are. If they want any, talk to them if they want any revisions or if whatever their sort of concerns are or whatever feedback you receive from them. And then if that results in any revisions to the application, you will revise your application accordingly, contact the Committee of Adjustment staff, and they will schedule you for the next hearing, next available hearing. So that's the process here.
Thank you for explaining to me that. The first part of meeting the neighbors, this application was starting with zoning 1 year ago, last March. So I have already educated to everybody, that is to 60 meters of people where city sent a letter. As much I have met people, they don't have any concerns. A simple statement says is that it's your land, you are constructing, live happily, move on. There was only 2 objections were there verbally when I heard, and when I explained the reason of why it is big or why we are coming forward, that neighbor said, okay, I would revisit this application. If I have concern, I will write a letter. Otherwise, I would not concern. So we haven't received anything from them.
Okay.
The only objection has come from my immediate neighbor, that is 30. So my address is 28 Aspendale, and the objection letter, what you see is on 30 Aspendale Drive, which was on 24th, or 24th or 29th. And that is the only one, because I met the person I met him in person, explained what is going to happen in 1 year's time, and I've heard. The other objection letter, what you have seen in the application, I have no clue where this person lives. So
Okay.
I understand the rest of your process, what you explained, but I have already done my duty of explaining to the people
Okay.
who have done it.
Okay, no, thank you for explaining that. However, we also have a community planning staff report, and did you get an opportunity to read that?
Yes, definitely I read that, but I see that that report has come because of an objection letter, which is just exaggerated 7 variances into 7 pages. So definitely any person who's in charge, like a staffing planner, they would definitely get into deeper discussions of it.
I
But
think
those
I
things
think
are
if you, sorry, I'm cutting you, Suman, but if you read page 3 of the report, and the last couple of paragraphs speak to, I can explain what the concerns are. It clearly says planning staff are sensitive to and appreciate the residents' concern, but staff must also conclude that such worries have little or direct bearing on specific minor variance being requested. But overall, staff feel that it would be of benefit to you to discuss some more information regarding the floor plans with the building department, with yourself, and with the municipal licensing standards, just to give you best advice to the committee as well, and help residents understand. So sometimes that kind of explanation helps in mitigating the residents' concerns as well. So it's not just about the concerns of the residents that the planners are recommending the deferral of this application, but they actually want to take a step back, give it a sober thought, and provide us with more information or more pertinent information with respect to such developments, including yours. Okay?
Yes, I completely understand that. That is also a direct link with one of that objection letter with just unrelated explanation that why there is so
We
many
understand
washrooms.
that.
Why
Yeah,
it makes
we
sense.
understand that. And Suman, for the purposes of this hearing, it's a democratic process, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. So if we receive comments, and in our opinion, it may be irrelevant, but someone has taken the time to write to us, and we are here to listen to them. So let's keep that aside. But we have a report from community planning recommending deferral for a variety of reasons, and a couple of those I mentioned to you. We are going to be making a motion on the request for deferral. So I just typically, when we receive a request for deferral from the applicant says, yes, this is my request. So that's what I want to hear from you. If you don't want to, then you let us know. This is your opportunity.
What happens if I say no, and then what's the next thing?
Then we will hold down this item and, well, no, actually not. If you say no, committee will still go for a vote on it. And if committee still decides that a deferral is not warranted, or is warranted or not warranted, a decision will be made. And if the committee says, all right, deferral is not granted, then we will come back to it in the main body of the meeting and hear your application, listen to you, look at the merits of the application, and make a decision on it today. Which means you will not have the opportunity to go back and make any revisions. The decision will be made today.
Okay, well, on the decision making, will that be again a deferral or will
No,
that be a refusal?
no, it could be a refusal and it could be an approval. We will hear your
Okay,
application and then make a decision whether it's approved or denied.
okay. I would like to defer and see whatever they prefer
Sorry, you would like to?
based on the vote. I mean, I would like to see what's the committee's vote. If they say that they would like to hear the application, I'm ready to speak about it. Or otherwise, we could go for deferral if they are not comfortable.
No, but you have to understand if the committee defers it, you need to understand the purpose of the deferral and prepare to work on it. If you don't agree with the
Sure,
purpose,
yes.
yeah.
No, I agree, ma'am. I do agree, madam. No issues. If they differ, I go with them.
Okay, should the committee defer, we will advise you on the purpose of the deferral, and you will have to then agree or do whatever is being intended.
Sure.
Okay,
No, definitely.
staff.
Through the chair, just a point of procedure. If the applicant does not wish to defer their item,
I asked him.
you've asked him.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether you actually need to do a motion or not, because the applicant is
No,
telling you.
but he said that, all right, we'll go for the committee and see what their decision is on the deferral request. He said it.
But if the applicant withdraws his request for deferral, and you think if the applicant is withdrawing his request, then it would just be heard as a regular item.
I asked him, and he said he doesn't want to withdraw. He wants to still pursue this deferral and let committee make a decision.
Okay.
So maybe I can get additional point of clarification. So someone you heard, I want confirmation,
Yes.
yes or no. Do you want to proceed with the request for deferral? Yes or no?
I wanted to make a decision through what committee is saying it because I'm new, I'm young, I do not have an idea. You are all experienced. When I respect my neighbors, I don't mind respecting you all. Please help me.
I can't help you if
I
you're
mean,
not.
go to the vote. I mean, what I'm trying to ask you is, go for the vote. We have 4 people over here. Let them comment. If they say go for deferral, I'm going with it. There's no, what do you say, like disheartened or hurted, nothing like that.
No. It's
I'm
not
new.
about.
I'm just
it-
11 years in Canada. I don't have idea about how these things work. So please, I'm ready. If you want to defer it, please defer it. Because I do not make any decision of deferring by myself because those 2 objection letters, like people were saying, go for it, like influencing it. But after I see these meetings happening, I think you all can make a better decision. So if you say that I should go and based on your voting, if you see that I should defer it, I'm ready with that. If you see that they're the 4 people, they say like, no, let's hear the applicant and then make a decision and then we could think about it. I'm ready with that too.
Committee
So
committee
please go
members.
ahead for the vote.
Okay. Committee members, help me out here. Member McKay.
Yes, Madam Chair, it seems that there is an opportunity for the applicant to speak to his neighbors and any objectors. So I think that we should give him that opportunity. So I would move that we defer this item sine die.
All right, may I have a seconder? Member Said, please go ahead.
I echo what Member Gary has said, and this is an opportunity, and I think Suman is very flexible to that. Thank you very much, Suman. It's an opportunity for you. So I second the motion for approval for deferral of item number 8.
If I can add a friendly amendment to the motion, I know it's been seconded, but it's not just for the community or members or the neighbors, it's also with community planning. Is that something that, Member McKay, you have concerns with?
Oh, I'd be fine with that amendment, Madam Chair, so that he can, seek opinions as widely as he can before he returns to have it heard on the merits.
Okay. And Member Said, you seconded the motion. You have any concerns with that?
I am okay with that, to provide an opportunity to address the concerns as identified by the community planning and by the neighbors.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application has been deferred sine die. And Suman, if you're hearing us, your application has been deferred, which means start with community planning, speak with them. They will help you and assist you in the process and in terms of what their concerns are and help you through the process as well. Okay?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, what is the next request for deferral?
Through the chair, the last deferral request for the morning session is item 10, 7 FERNCROFT Drive. It's a deferral request at the request of the owner to the May 5th Committee of Adjustment hearing in order to revise their application to submit additional required materials.
Okay, thank you. And the owner is Darren. Darren, are you with us? Seven FERNCROFT Drive deferral request. Darren, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you
All
hear
right.
me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you. Good morning. So Darren, I understand you have requested for a deferral. Could I please have confirmation and the purpose of deferral?
Yeah, sorry, mute button going crazy. Confirmation, yes, I'm Darren Emos, owner of the property 7 FERNCROFT Drive. We were made yesterday aware by Committee of Adjustment that there was a truncated page, which is the rear elevation from our plans, and that that the committee would not be able to make a decision without this page. So would I prefer not to defer it? For sure, but it was strongly suggested by the committee intake team that I request it.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, any comment? If there are none, then can I please have a motion on this request for deferral? Member Said, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As per request of the applicant, I move the motion for deferral of item number 10. And the reason is that to provide some additional information and revision of the application by the applicant.
All right. May I have a seconder, please? Member Ihor, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second that motion for deferral.
Thank you. And all in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application has been deferred sine die. Thank you. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any further requests for deferral?
There are none for the morning session.
Thank you very much. All right. So that brings us to the end of our deferral requests. I'd say this has been the longest session for deferral requests that I've ever had. It took a while. Now we are going to vet the agenda. So I'm going to start with the first item on the agenda that needs to be vetted. Item number 4. And I'd say that there is one speaker listed. Item 4 is for 29 CLIFFCREST Drive. There's one speaker listed, so we will come back and hold this item and come back to it for further discussion. Item 4 is being held. Item number 5, 18 VIEWBANK Road. There are no registered speakers, but I see there's the agent here, Costa Derbish. Can we have Costa, please? He's not here? Okay. So, members of the committee, the agent for item number 5, 18 VIEWBANK Road is not with us. Do you have any comments for the applicant, or are you prepared to make a motion on it? This is item number 5. Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had an issue with the third floor plan here. This is an application where he wants to build a second and a third story. And I was looking forward to hearing from the applicant as to why the third story and how that impacts the area. The other variances, he's got a building height variance as well. I think the height and the story variance are issues that cause me some concern. I would not like to proceed without the applicant.
Okay, so you want further discussion and clarification from the applicant on this application?
Yes.
Okay, so staff, the applicant's not there. The committee would like to have further discussion on this application. What's our option here?
Through the chair, if the applicant is listening in, can I ask that they please register? And what I would suggest is hold the item.
And come back to it?
Come back to it. And on another matter, you may wish to, on items 1 to 3, you may wish to formally hold those as well. When you.
Vetting the agenda?
Yeah, vetting the agenda.
Okay, all right. Okay, so that's separate. Okay, so item 5, 18 VIEWBANK Road. The applicant is not signed in yet. Staff are trying to connect with them. So we're going to hold on making any comment or any decision on this yet and come back to it when we've completed the vetting of the agenda to see if the applicant's there. Okay? All right. And then if the person's still not there, then we'll think of the plan B. All right. Staff just advised me to go back to items 1, 2, 3, which were heard for the purposes of request for deferral. Committee did not grant deferral, but I guess I just want to, for record, say that item 1, 2, and 3 are being held for further discussion. Is that it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. So item 1, 2, and 3 are being held for further discussion. Item 4 is being held for further discussion. Item 5, we will hold on making any comment on it until the end of the vetting of the agenda. Item 6, 27 Scotland Road. There is one registered speaker for this application, so we will hold down this item and come back to it in the main body. Item 6 for 27 Scotland Road is being held. Item number 7, 36B McNabb Boulevard. Again, there is a registered speaker, so we will hold down this item and come back. 36B McNabb Boulevard is being held for further discussion. Item 9, 38 Miramar Crescent. There is no registered speaker. Can I have the applicant, Amritpal Bansal, on this application? 38 Miramar Crescent. Amritpal. Okay, thank you. Amrit, you're with us?
Yep. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Amritpal Bansal. I am the acting agent for the subject property at 38 Miramar in Scarborough.
Okay, thank you very much, Amrit. Now, we have your application before us to construct 2 new-story dwelling, and we have the variances before us. Are you aware of the conditions of urban forestry?
Yes, we're aware, and we accept the conditions.
Okay, thank you. I will ask the committee if they have any questions or they would like you to present. Do you have any comment at this time, though?
At this time, I have nothing new to add, but if the committee require me to make a short presentation to go over the variances requested, I'd be happy to do so.
Okay, all right. Members of the committee, you heard the applicant couldn't provide a presentation. Should the committee require one or request one? And he is aware of the conditions of urban forestry. Any comments? Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I don't need a presentation. I wish to ask the applicant if he can confirm what is the garage setback that he is proposing.
Okay. Emrit, could you provide some clarification on the setback for the garage? I think Member Macaulay is specifically referring to your to the notice that says new requirement after January 13 will be 0.3 meters. Is that correct, Member Macaulay?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that wasn't noted by us. I think that's the zoning bylaw change that might occur in the future. The request that we're asking for is 1.2 meters.
So staff obtained this information from the application or your I guess there was no certificate, right? You received a waiver. So your zoning information was received from your application.
Correct. So I just copy pasted whatever the zoning examiner wrote there.
Okay, all right.
That's why I run in brackets. New requirement after January 18th will be 0.3 meters. And I think that's a zoning bylaw change that might occur.
Okay.
But that's not what we're asking for.
Okay, I'm not sure. I don't have any
I think-
confirmation from building department or from zoning. So I guess if you're assessing the merits of the application, we can just look at what's being requested without that caveat. Member Macaulay.
Okay, I think that's correct. We'll look at what the applicant is requesting, and we will ignore that after January 18th. I don't know if that was 2022 or 2023.
Yeah.
I think it's irrelevant. He wants a garage setback at 1.27 meters, and that's what his plans are showing.
I agree with
So
you.
I'm prepared to recommend approval of this variance application. I look at the numbers that he is proposing. They seem appropriate and meet the requirements of their application. So I recommend approval of this application.
Subject to conditions of urban forestry?
Subject to conditions of urban forestry, correct.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor, approval subject to conditions of urban forestry. May I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe the variances mentioned there are minor, and Amrit, you are aware of the urban forestry condition number 2 and 3. With that, I second the motion for approval, subject to the condition of urban forestry.
All right, all in favor of this motion? Motion carried and the application has been approved. Staff.
Through the chair, the agent for item 5 is registered.
You mean he's online?
He is.
Okay, all right, so we can go back to item 5. Okay, so we are now going to go back to item number 5 because the applicant is here with us. So Costa Dervish, you're with us? Hello, Costa.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Costa, thank you for connecting with us. We were vetting the agenda, and it appears that one of the members had a question or a couple of questions about your application. So I'm going to go to Member Macaulay. Member Macaulay, you had some questions on item 5. Are those, do you think that would require discussion, or those could be quick answers? Yes, Member Macaulay, please.
No, Madam Chair, I think in this case, I would like a short presentation from the applicant. In particular, I am looking at the height of 3 stories, and I'm looking for his justification for having to go to the 3rd story.
Okay, all right. So, Costa, well, we are going to hold down your item and come back to it in the main body. There are some questions and clarification that the member needs. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Where were we?
Item 6.
No, item 11. Item 11. So we were,
Sorry?
that's okay. Item 11 is 30 James Park Square. And there is one registered speaker, so we will hold down this item and come back to it. So item 11, 30 James Park Square is being held. Item 12, 48 Cotton Avenue. We have a registered speaker. We will hold down this item and come back. Item 12, 48 Cotton Avenue is being held. Item 13, 6 Glenmore Drive. 2 members who have registered to speak. So we will hold down item 13 and come back to it in the main body. Item 14, 32 Canham Crescent. Again, we have a registered speaker. We're going to hold down and come back to in the main body. Item 14 is being held. Item 15, 22 Windsor Avenue. There is no registered speaker, and I wish to invite the agent, Jay Smith. Jay, you with us?
Madam Chair, Jay Smith, I'm the agent for the application.
Okay, thank you, Jay. So we have your application before us. Do you have any comment at this time, or can we go to the committee for a decision?
No comment, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, any questions or comments? I see none. All right, can I please have a motion? Member Said, please go ahead.
Actually, Madam Chair, this is a question, not a motion, so am I allowed to? I raised my hand for a question.
Oh, I'm
actually.
sorry, I didn't see you. Yes, please go ahead. What's your question?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for this opportunity. I have a quick question from the applicants. The variance about the porch, which is already existing and a very big porch. I mean, it's almost like 9.69 square meter. Further addition to that, which is 3.38 meter, I don't understand like why this porch is so big, and what's the triggering factors there?
Through you, Madam Chair, it is basically the only exterior sitting space of any size, given the shape and the dimensions of the lot. They use the front porch basically as their backyard. So they are looking to just square off the roof on the front porch to the corners of the buildings. And it is where they socialize, it's where their kids play. There is a small wooden deck at the rear of the lot, but it is very tight, very small. It is overlooked by the neighbors. So yeah, this is basically their exterior recreation space for this lot.
You're right. If you look at the floor plan, it's tight. There's only a wooden deck at the back, and it's all driveway and setback. So yes, it just provides that outdoor amenity, which is more usable and functional. All right, Member Said?
Yeah, that's, I acknowledge that. I understand that. It's a good point, and thank you very much for that. With that, I'm willing to support this application, Madam Chair.
Please go ahead.
If there is no other member. Okay, thank you very much. So, Madam Chair, I move the motion for approval of item number 15, and I don't see there are no conditions attached to that.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, Member Ihor, please go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll second the motion for approval.
All in favor of this motion? And the motion's carried and the application has been approved. Thank you. I'll take a
you, Madam
brief
Chair.
pause. I have staff telling something. Staff just clarified. I apologize, Member Igor. I have been mispronouncing your first name. It's Igor, not Ihor. I apologize for that. Okay.
I didn't even notice. Appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, my apologies for that. Thank you, Colin. We move to item 16. Item 16 is 24 Woodland Park Road. And there are 2 registered speakers on this item, so we will hold down this item and come back to it in the main body. Item 16 is being held. That brings us to the end of the agenda items for the morning session. I will do a recap of all the items that have been held, and there are quite a few. Okay, I'm going to start. Item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5, item 6, item 7, item 11, item 12, item 13, item 14, and item 16. Thank you. So I just want to remind everyone, we have quite a few items that have been held, so I would request everyone to be cognizant of everyone's time, and you know, there's a lot of items to be for discussion. So again, I will be monitoring the time very closely, and I will be watching the timing of each item closely, because we have to get through a lot of items. Okay, that brings us to the end. We're going to start with the first item that was held. So I guess item 1, 2, and 3 could be held together because they pertain to the same application or the addresses. So can we have the agent for item 1, 2, and 3, and that is not the agent, actually, the owner and interpreter. So owner Alan and interpreter Helen. She's not there? Alan is? Okay. Hello, Alan.
Can I speak? Please speak.
Could you please increase the volume of your microphone?
Hello?
Hi, yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Aaron now is sick. I will go further meet your requirement.
Okay, so Alan,
Yeah.
you have 5 minutes, and you can
Mhm.
provide us with what you have included in the memo or anything that you wish to say regarding your application and why you think, in your opinion, the application is appropriate. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Can you
Mm-hmm.
let's start?
You can start right now, and you have 5 minutes.
Oh,
I will let you know when you're ending your 5 minutes. I will let you know. So please start.
okay. Please open my memorandum at number 6.2.3. I go from there. Very simple.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So give us a moment. Staff is bringing up the memo
Yeah.
on the screen, and we will have it. You can review it. Let us know where to follow you. Okay. Just give me a moment.
Through the chair, which memo is the applicant referring to?
Alan, what's the date of that memo? April 4th?
The memo is April 1st.
No. Through the chair, we've already explained this.
No, the committee member said that they were prepared to hear the memo. It's
The
on the
memo
AIC.
date April 1st.
It's on the AIC, isn't it?
This is on the AIC, but it was submitted after the deadline.
But the committee members agreed to listen to what's included in the memo. Okay?
Yeah, please go 6.2 and 6.3. Got it?
Yeah, please go ahead. Please proceed.
Yeah, on 6.2, I have 23 approved 3-story samples. And I not because the volume, if you require, I will provide later. 6.3 is the table, and I give 3 samples. Number one is 95 Danforth Road. It's on the same road and very close, 380 meters. This is 3 stories. Building height is 93 meters. Main wall height is 7.9 meters. And number 2 is 101 to Denton Avenue, Part 4. This is 3 stories. Building height is 9.3 meters. Stories is 3, and 220 meters away the subject. Number 3, 126B Newport Avenue. This is 2-story, but building height is 9.35 meters, and the main wall height is 9.04 meters, and can go over the following, the notice decision. Did you find out?
Carry on, Alan. We're following you. Carry on.
Okay. The notice decision for 195 Danforth Road, Part 1, approved 3-story and 9.3 meters building height. This is on the same street and very short distance. And 3-story approved, 9.3 meter building height approved, 79 meter main wall height approved. And the second one approved, that's 112 Denton Avenue, Part 4. Approved 3-story, 93 meter building height, 9.04 meter main wall height. And the last one, this is 126B New Port Avenue, and approved 9.35 meters building height, and approved 9.04 the wall height, and also have over 20 reference notice of decisions. I don't want to make too complicated here. If you ask, I can provide later. In one word, my application for variance is minor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Committee members, do you have any questions of Alan? Any questions for Alan? Do you want any clarification? No? I see none. Last call. Okay. All right. There are no questions from the committee members. Alan, I will now go into the committee, and the committee will make a decision on your application. Okay? And any closing remark before I go?
I would like to remind all members, 3 stories, not just few cases or several cases. In my hand is around 30 cases, 3 stories. If found, it will be more. For conformity, this area, 3-story is the feature, is new development.
Okay. Okay, we heard that. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. We've heard that. And we've looked at your previous memos that you've provided, and we have your supplementary analysis that was received as well. So we have all of that, and staff have, committee members have reviewed that. So the ones that you were referring to, yeah, we have that on the agenda that you previously submitted. All right, thank you very much.
May I have a question?
Sure.
One question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I have around 30 cases support 3-story. Do you need me to send you a copy?
No. If the committee makes a decision on your application today, there's no opportunity for you to send anything else to us.
Thank you.
Okay, once the committee makes a decision, the matter is closed and the decision will be made. So that would be the end of the discussion. Okay. All right, I will now take the matter into committee. Committee members, you heard the applicant. We heard his response or rebuttal. From what I gather, it's the concerns related to the height, and he provided us with some examples of 3-story buildings in the area, and so on and so forth. And we also have our community planning staff report, and I've read the report again, just as I was following the applicant. So any comments, any thoughts at this time? No, sorry.
I have a last question.
No, you can't. Sorry, I will not allow you. The opportunity has been closed. So we are into committee now, and we're making a decision. Thank you very much. Committee members, come on. Member Macaulay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the applicant. I read your application and all the material that you sent to us. In particular, I think the issue is the 3 stories proposal. You had a proposal that got approved 2 years ago that was 2 stories, and you're coming back and asking for 3 stories on all 3 of these lots. You have provided us with examples of other buildings in the municipality, but are to look at buildings within the area and look at whether the development that you're proposing is appropriate for the immediate area. So we're looking really at the 4 or 5 streets in that neighborhood. We're also looking at what is the impact of a 3 or what appears to be a 4-story building on Danforth Road. And we have to then determine whether that is desirable for the development on your particular site, and bearing in mind what will that impact be on other sites in the area. Taking a look at that, I find it's not at all helpful to hear that there are 3-story buildings in other parts of Scarborough. And I agree there are. You mentioned Hill Crescent, you mentioned Brumwell. Both those properties are probably 10 kilometers from you. We're looking at the immediate area. I see that if we approve this, it would be out of line with what is developed in the area, and it would not set a good. We know from your application of 2 years ago that you can build 2 stories. That was adequate. You got approval of that 2 years ago. And we're not going to readdress that item. We're only going to address your proposal for 3 stories. In my opinion, that is not desirable nor appropriate. Those are my comments, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Member Said, please go ahead. You have a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, a short comment on that. And looking at the memo of the applicant, as well as looking at particularly to point 6.1 and 6.2, which Mr. Allen was elaborating on that. I'm sorry, I'm still not convinced by the justification provided in 6.1 and 6.2, because the buildings or the precedent mentioned there, as Member Ann was saying, it's not compatible. So it's not the right thing to mention or to compare these heights with the current application. So I'm not convinced to that. Also, the 3 height variants, which is still there, I believe those are a matter of concerns, and those are not minor variants. So in my opinion, I'm not convinced, and I'm not able to support this application.
Okay, can someone just confirm with me, or at least tell me, what's the average size of the house? Like, what's the FSI? How big are the houses? Can anyone tell me? Just as a, part of my thought process here.
Through the chair, we're going to put up the
Okay.
plan.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Oh, so it's in the site. It's in the site statistics on the side.
Can you expand that, please?
Actually not. I'm just trying to understand. I mean, as much as we know that height is a matter of concern, but I'm trying to find out the average size of home that's being proposed. Okay, never mind. If you can't find it, I don't want to waste other people's times on this. We can move. While I may be looking for this information, just reaching out to other committee members. Any other member who has a comment? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, there is a strong community planning report, and that report really concludes that the intent of both the official plan and zoning bylaw are not being met. So accordingly, I couldn't see my way to approving this application. When we vote, I would be turning it down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Member Igor, just checking with you if you had any comments.
No, Madam Chair. I echo the concerns of all the points that the committee members have made, and agree that the staff report is quite explicit and direct in terms of where they stand. That's all I have to say.
Okay, so my question to the committee members is it just one variance, or is it all the variances that are of concern? I mean, if you read community planning staff report, the significant concerns are with regards to the height and the massing. There are other variances as well. Member Macaulay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are, in the report, it's confused. There are variances that have already approved. We're not addressing those. We're only addressing the new variances, and I believe there's only 3 new variances, all dealing with building height.
That is correct. So this is why I also wanted to thank you for bringing that up, because if you refuse the application, that would mean that if you refuse the variances that were previously approved by the committee are also refused then, right?
No, Madam Chair. I think what we have to do is we have to be careful on how we word the variances, or word our decision, and our decision is to refuse the applications, the variances as they refer to 1, 2, and 3, all dealing with building height. And we would also refuse number 4 because it isn't technically required the way it's worded. And so it's
But Member Macaulay, sorry, I would like to follow you, but just for a second, I think we cannot make a decision. We can't interpret it. It's the way what has been presented to us. I understand they have had a zoning waiver, but we have to go with what's before us. So we cannot interpret whether it shouldn't be there or should be there. Staff.
Through the chair, I agree with you. Is that
go ahead.
That the committee should deal with the application as currently proposed with all 7 variances. You have a community planning staff report recommending refusal of variances 1, 2, and 3. To your earlier question about FSI, there was not a variance was not being requested for FSI, so it must, I guess the application must comply, or it's based on the previous variance that was approved.
Correct. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Sorry, Member Macaulay, please carry on.
Okay, I'm going to carry on with my notes here, and I am going to put forth a motion to refuse application for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Refuse those 4 items. I am going to be mute on items 5, 6, and 7, because if we refuse them, that calls into question our previous approval. If we approve them, it also calls in our previous decision. So once a variance has been approved, it's approved. We're not going to go back and change it at all. So
but
my
Member
motion
Macaulay,
is only dealing with 1, 2, 3, and 4.
No, Member Macaulay, from what I understand, you still have to make a decision. You can't say, I'm going to be silent on it or mute on it. You have to include it in your decision today. This is a you have to make a decision on the entirety of the application. You refuse it or you approve it, or separate the variances.
All right.
Unfortunately, that's
Um,
you can't have anything hanging in there with no decision, right? It has to go one way or the other.
Can I
Member,
ask a question, Madam
yes,
Chair? Sorry.
yes, please. Yes, please go ahead.
It's just a clarification to the member. I'm just looking at the staff report. If you could just clarify, the staff report refuses variants 1, 2, and 3, or requests that we refuse variants 1, 2, and 3. But it says here the requested variance number 4, 5, 6, and 7. Are those the identical variances for this parcel under application, which were approved by the community adjustment in 2020? So 4, 5, 6, and 7 are identical to what the Committee of Adjustment approved in 2020. Is that correct?
That is correct. And
not
this,
complete.
Good.
that is correct, right, staff?
That is correct.
So-
So really, you only need to, like, I
It's
guess,
not the same. I previously approved. Sorry, does staff want to clarify?
Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
through the chair, the community planning staff report does indicate that variances 4, 5, 6, and 7 are identical to the previous variances.
Thank you very much. So, Member Macaulay, staff have confirmed items 4, 5, 6, 7 are identical.
All right. Just to be clear on this, to refuse the variance number 1, 2, and 3, as these are inappropriate. They don't maintain the general intent and purpose of the OP. They don't maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw and are not desirable for the appropriate development on the use of the land. I will recommend approval of variances 4, 5, 6, and 7, which confirm the previous approval.
Okay, may I have a seconder,
And I
please?
don't know that there's any conditions here.
I don't see any conditions here. I don't see any conditions here. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to refuse variance number 1, 2, and 3 and approve variance 4, 5, and 6, and 7. May I have a seconder, please? Member Igor, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to second the motion to refuse items 1, 2, and 3, or variances 1, 2, and 3 that have been noted, and approve variances 4, 5, 6, and 7, which have already been sort of approved at that earlier date.
All in favor of this motion? Motion's carried. The application has been approved, partially approved and partially denied. Thank you. Partially approved or denied. It's the same thing. All right, the decision has been made and the application has been partially approved. Thank you. We now go to the next item that was held, and that is item number 4. Item number 4 is 29 CLIFFCREST Drive. Can I please have the agent, Leo Mastrandria, please?
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Leo Mastandre. I'm the agent for the owners at 29 CLIFFCREST.
Okay, thank you, Leo. Leo, would you like to make a presentation or go right into the questions?
I submitted some material. I don't know if you reviewed it. Supporting material. So that line there is for my front yard setback. So there's 7 houses in line with where we're proposing ours. And also I'd like to mention that where we're proposing our house, it's also where the existing is currently. The only reason we have that setback is the house to the east is set way back. And because of the ravine situation, we kept it in line with the existing. And also I showed some decisions, some photos consistent with what we're showing. I believe this application is minor in nature in consideration to what's been approved on CLIFFCREST. If you have any questions, I can definitely answer them.
Okay, thank you, Leo. Yes, so we do have your presentation online, as you can see on the screen as well. We have reviewed it. There's some previous decisions. There was the map that was shown on the screen, and there are some photos as well. Committee members, do you have any questions for Leo? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Liu, is there any trees are going to be affected by this development? Just mentioned that. And if not, are you aware of the urban forestry conditions 2 and 3? And you agree to that?
There are no trees affected, and yes, I do agree to that.
Okay,
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions for Leo? I see none. All right, Leo. So we're going to move on and speak to the neighbor who has registered to speak with us. Can we have Peter Zhang with us, please?
To the chair, Peter is not present.
Thank you, staff. So the neighbor who had registered to speak, Peter Zhang is not online today. So we are going to go back to the applicant. So Leo, the neighbor's not there. Before I take the matter into committee, any closing remarks?
No, like I said, I believe this application meets the test.
Okay.
Hopefully,
All right, thank you very much. All right, I take the matter into committee now. Leo has confirmed he is aware of the urban forestry conditions and he has no concerns. If there are no further questions or comments, can I please have a motion? Member Igor, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll put forth a motion for approval of item 429 CLIFFCREST Drive, subject to the conditions by urban forestry.
Thank you. And may I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
I second the motion for approval subject to the urban forestry conditions.
Okay. And all in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application has been approved subject to conditions of urban forestry. Thank you very much.
thank you. Have a nice night.
Thank you. We now move to our next item, item number 5. And item number 5 is for 18 VIEWBANK Road. And can we have the applicant Costa Derbish?
Yes, I'm here, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Costa. Costa, committee members had some questions with you, but would you like to make a presentation or go right to the questions?
Yeah, we certainly would like to make a presentation.
Okay, sir, so you have 5 minutes and your time starts now.
Oh, can I share my screen?
You cannot share the screen, but did you submit your presentation to us?
I did. I submitted, and staff hadn't gotten back to me about having received it.
Through the chair, the presentation was submitted after the written submission deadline, so we cannot share the screen. If the applicant wishes to present, it'll need to be an oral presentation.
So Costa, you heard that. You can certainly do a verbal presentation.
Okay, I'll move forward with that then. There were a bunch of research materials that had been submitted to staff. So the chair, I believe, should have those on hand. But I'll go forward with my presentation.
Through the chair, if the applicant wishes to refer to materials submitted in his plans or any material submitted before the written submission deadline, he can just let us know and we could put that on the screen.
Okay, well, yes. So I'm thinking my time hasn't begun yet, correct?
Yes, it has not. So we have, Costa, your cover letter that you submitted and all the plans that you've submitted. They're on the agenda. Do you wish to bring any of those materials up?
Well, we had submitted with planning staff a neighborhood research exercise that had looked at a bunch of precedents in the nearby context in the neighborhood that presented as 3 stories and were 3-story single detached homes. So
And when did
I'm
you,
not sure that this.
when did you submit it?
Well, this was months ago in our back and forth with staff.
Through the chair, we have your cover letter dated November 30th to Marianne Barsoum. Is that the one that you're referring to? If you
No, that is the cover letter, and there is a render on the last page, but there was also a package that was submitted to Marianne.
Okay, but if it was not submitted to committee, then we would not have it.
Okay, well, I would just note that I wasn't made aware of the deadline, so that's why the materials weren't sent over. Is it impossible for me to share my presentation, because it's very integral to the proposal, and it would really help the committee know this, and it's not new materials. Staff have had access to this.
Okay, so
So I guess yes.
I've been told that those materials were not included in the committee's package for distribution to committees with your application, I guess, right? With his application. So that's why it did not make it to the committee. And because for whatever reason you were not notified of the deadline, the materials did not meet the deadline and have not been included in the agenda package.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Madam Chair?
Yes, Member Macaulay.
I have a question. My issue really is the 3-story height. And if the applicant has material that we don't have here in front of us, would the applicant be wanting to defer this application so that he can submit the material, so that we have all the material that he wants us to have to deal with that 3-story height?
Costa, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just have a question about when the date would be deferred to. Would it be in the afternoon session, or would this be way down the road at another committee date?
This would, from what I understand, that this would be another hearing date. So essentially, the matter will be deferred until and then be heard again at another meeting.
And perhaps we can get a clarification from staff as to whether it could go to the next meeting in May, or whether it'd have to wait until a June meeting. It's a matter of getting all the material out and notices.
Well, Madam Chair, I would just say this. I mean, we do have a fair amount of materials. The report that we had circulated with staff would be, yes, it would be a lot more visually we'd be able to explain it much more clearly, but we think we can do a good job of describing and naming all of the addresses that do meet those height criteria that we feel that we are in alignment with as a precedent. So we want to move forward and make our presentation, and then I think we can fill in the gaps with the panel with through communication and whatnot. Maybe I can get a response with the panel, the chairpersons.
Madam Chair, I'm fine with him proceeding. He had the opportunity, but
Okay.
if he wants to proceed, that's his decision.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to proceed to Costa and then try your best through verbal and visual based on what we have in the package, absolutely, please go ahead.
Okay, so our subject property is located at 18 VIEWBANK Road in Scarborough. We're designated as neighborhoods, and we're subject to bylaw 569/2013 and also Scarborough Birchcliff bylaw 8786. Our GFA proposed is 308.3 square meters, a proposed FSI of 0.83, a maximum 9.75 building height, and 3 stories with 2 units and 1 parking space. So this is a revised proposal. We've revised this based on staff direction to remove a carport that was located in the side yard setback, so that's been removed. And we've also reduced the height. Initially, staff had wanted us to go down to 2 stories as they didn't see there was a 3-story precedent in the area, but we've done a large amount of research and submitted that with staff, and they have come back to us and said they have no concerns with this proposal. And on top of that, we've reduced the height to 9.75 meters from initially 10 meters. So staff have no concern at all, and based on the research and report that we have shown them. So overall, we're requesting 9 minor variances in total, and they're dealing with the height in meters and stories from the bylaw, and a slight front yard setback permission, lot coverage, maximum area of a platform, height of exterior main walls, parking dimensions, and maximum FSI. So I'm just going to explain the 4 tests here. Do we meet the intent of the official plan? We believe the proposal is consistent with the development criteria in neighborhoods as established in section 4.15 of the Toronto official plan. The design minimizes visual presence from the street by utilizing a 2.75 meter step back at the 3rd floor and a low pitched roof. When viewed from the street, this design strategy greatly reduces the visual impact of the 3rd story. This addition respects the existing character of the neighborhood. Number 2, do the variances meet the intent of the zoning bylaw? The RD zone ensures that the low-rise detached character of the neighborhood. The proposal is consistent with that permitted, and key built-for provisions of the bylaw are generally maintained, such as length and depth. The required setback and height variances are not out of context with the surrounding proposals, and as shown in our neighborhood examples research, which I'm going to touch on. Additionally, the removal of the carport to maintain the side yard setback per staff direction, and the reduction of height from 10 meters to 9.75 meters further mitigates impact on surrounding properties. Are the variances, number 3, are the variances minor in nature? The relief for lot coverage is only 1% greater than what is permitted, and the front yard setback is 0.025 meters less than required. The platform area and building height variances are related, as the platform area is created by pushing the 3rd story away from the street. This helps reduce the visual impact, as I stated, and while planters are proposed along the edge of the platform to further set back the used accessible area. The 3rd story height is minor given the many existing precedents in the surrounding neighborhood. Number 4, do the variances represent a desirable and appropriate use of the lands? The proposed addition we propose will redevelop an underutilized parcel, and the variances will help facilitate an improvement of the city's existing housing stock to Ontario Building Code standards. So those are how we see the 4 tests. And this is the part of the presentation where I would have shown the neighborhood research. And we have seen there are 8 surrounding existing single detached homes, which either present as 3-story living areas from the street, or in fact actually are 3 stories. And the ones that are 3 stories are 65 Lakeview Avenue, which is a 3-story detached dwelling with the living area in the 3rd story as an addition, along with 37 White Birch Road and 109 Warden Avenue. Those are all proper 3 stories, and there are many other examples of homes that have additions
Sorry,
that
Costa.
propose as 3 stories.
Sorry to interrupt you, Costa. Your time's up.
So yeah, that's it. That's all for our presentation. So we're open to discussion.
Okay, thank you. All right, Member Macaulay, does that address your question or concern that you had?
Yes, Madam Chair, it does. It's unfortunate that we don't have those other examples in the area, but thanks to the for at least addressing those issues.
Thank you.
Okay. Other committee members, any questions for Costa? All right, there are no further questions. So Costa, any closing remarks before we go into the committee and make a decision on this?
Yes, we've also received letters of support from the adjacent neighbors at 14 and 16 VIEWBANK and 20 and 22 VIEWBANK Road. So either neighbors on either side, two doors down, have expressed support, and we feel that they would, being the closest to our property, would have the most be impacted by this, and they support the proposal. I would also just say if staff can bring up the render that from our cover letter that shows it's the last page, and it just shows a render of what is the existing condition, and you can see that we come at a very similar height ranges as our existing neighbors there. So we're obviously the salmon colored massing.
Okay.
And the view from the street, you can see how the pitched roof is mitigated as it is set back 2.75 meters at the third story there. So I think that should give a good visual idea of what this massing will present as when it is actually built out. It is totally in keeping with the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you very much, Costa. On that note, I'm going to bring this matter to the committee for discussion and decision. So committee members, Member Macaulay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to the applicant. I think I got somewhat confused with, you've got two heights. You got a 9.975 height and a 9.75, and I think that's just the two bylaws that impact your property. So I appreciate the discussion about the second and third story. I see that community planning have had no comments on this matter, and I'm satisfied that this application meets the test of variance. It's appropriate, it is desirable, it meets the general intended purpose of the zoning bylaw, and in my view, it is minor. Therefore, I would recommend approval. I need some help as to whether we have conditions of forestry. I don't think so. This is item 5. Yes, no conditions of urban forestry. So that is my proposal.
Your motion.
Sorry, my motion.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I second the motion for approval, and there are no conditions attached to that.
All right. All in favor of this motion? The motion's been carried and the application has been approved, and there are no conditions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We now move to item number 6 that was held, and item 6 is 27 Scotland Road. And can we have Russ Gregory? Russ, are you with us?
Madam Chair, yes, it's Russ Gregory here.
Okay, thank you, Russ. So we have your application before us. We're looking at it. And what we have is one variance before us to permit the legalization of second floor patio, and that pertains to the size of the platform area. Would you like to make a presentation or entertain any questions that the committee may have? Hello?
Oh, my back.
Yeah, we lost you for a second. I was asking if you would like to make a presentation or go right to the questions.
I could make a presentation very, very briefly if you'd like. and then answer any questions from the committee. Russ Gregory here on behalf of the owners of 27 Scotland. I designed the house 2 or 3 years ago before COVID. And through the COVID years, we built the house, finished it off. It's beautiful, well appointed. We had a flat roof that was designed into the elevation of the front of the house. And while the house was being built, the owners thought it would be very nice to just put a door out to that space. All I'd like to say is I'm well aware we do have a staff report that supports our application, but this really does not impact anybody on the street. It's looking directly out onto the street. I even question how much it's going to be used because the owners live in the house by themselves and have a ground floor master bedroom. I think it was just a nice touch to have the balcony up on the second floor. And with that, I'll pull back and answer any questions that the committee might have.
Okay, thanks, Russ. Members of the committee, any questions for Russ? Okay, and Russ, you're aware of condition of community planning staff report, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much. So bear with us for a second. We have a registered speaker, the neighbor, and I'd like to bring him online. So can we have Ye Jiang Tan, please? Can we have Ye Jiang Tan? Are you with us? Okay, Bill, are you with us?
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, we can hear you now. Thank you. So, Bill, you have registered to speak with us on this application, 27 Scotland Road. Please go ahead and tell us what your concerns are with the application.
So I'm okay. No other comment. Thank you.
So you have no comments on this application?
Yes, no more. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming and speaking with us. Appreciate that. All right, going back to Russ. Russ, that was a pleasant surprise. No comment.
That was very nice. Yes, we had sent some letters out to a couple of the neighbors, but got no replies. So that might have misconstrued somebody's ideas. So that's very nice. Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so on that note, very happy note, let's go to the committee. Committee members, there are no comments or concerns. Mr. Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Russ. You mentioned that you have communicated with the neighbors, and we are glad there is no issue from the neighbors, so on both sides or on front. So, Madam Chair, this is an existing platform, and I think it's in the front. It's not creating any issues. It's a straightforward application, so I'm willing to support this application, and I don't see there are any conditions to that.
All right, may I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion, but I know
sorry.
the community planning.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry, staff just pointed out that.
Okay. Each building is built, we don't want to have any changes. So just that the variance be subject to that condition that it's built within accordance with the second floor drawing plan that has been provided.
Thank you. Yes.
So that's
so Member Macaulay, just for a second. So I have to go back to Member Said. Member Said, you want to make an amendment to the motion so that Member Macaulay can second?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the staff for pointing out that yes, there is a recommendation of the community planning staff report. So my motion for approval is subject to the condition of community planning staff report recommendations.
All right, Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I'll be happy to second that motion now.
Perfect. All in favor of this motion? And the motion's carried. The application has been approved subject to condition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're now going to go to our next item that was held, item 7. Item 7 is 36.
Madam Chair, just quickly.
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just wondering, can we just take a 2-minute break quickly? if possible.
Of course, no problem. So to all those who are listening, we'll take a 5-minute nature break, and we will be back with you in 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Is Member Macaulay and Member McKay back? Yes, Member McKay, you're back. Member Macaulay? Okay, staff, I don't see Member Macaulay. Can I start? She won't be able to participate then in decision if she comes halfway through.
Through the chair, if you wish to proceed, you're correct. Member Macaulay will not be able to participate in the voting if she's not been here at the beginning of the item for the entirety of the item deliberations.
Give, maybe 30 more seconds.
Sure.
So to all those who are listening, we're back and we now have all the panel members and we can resume now. All right, so we are going to now deal with item number 7. And item 7 is 36B McNabb Boulevard. And can we have Glenn Rubinoff as the agent? Thank you. All right, so Sir Glenn, are you with us?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Glenn.
It's Glenn Rubinoff.
It's good afternoon.
Okay, is it? Yeah.
Time flies. Okay, Glenn, so we have your application before us and there's one variance being requested. Do you want to make a presentation or do you want to go right to the questions if committee has any questions?
I just wanted to briefly point out that we had a discussion with the city planning staff, planning member, and reached an understanding. They accepted our change that we made, which was to increase the landscaped area from 52.9% to 55.6%. I just want to make sure you have that information before you on that. That's right. You have it right there. So that's basically it. The other point I wanted to make is item number 2, the driveway width of 9.37. That's taken to the driveway and the walkway combined. The actual width of the driveway is at 8.23, but because they've incorporated it with the walkway by the house, that's where the length, the widest point is taken. I just wanted to mention the original driveway. It was a driveway which was extremely narrow. There were some hedges across the front, and when they started to do the construction of the home and the hedges, which were right on the city property, were removed, it effectively opened it up, and the client saw the opportunity. This is a new owner. The new owner saw the opportunity and said, well, you know, it was so squeezed before. We just want to be able to back up, you know, the double drive, back up both cars safely and not have to kind of wiggle around to get out onto the street. So it's really just to make it a more normalized driveway entrance. And that's the reason for the application today.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Members of the committee, do you have any question? I see none. All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Glenn, for your time today. We're going to move on and speak to our neighbor, Peter Thachuk. Peter, you with us?
You hear me?
Yes, I
Yes,
do.
can you hear me?
I do.
Okay. Good afternoon, committee. My name is Peter Thachuk, and I am a member of the Planning and Development Committee of the CLIFFCREST Scarborough Village Southwest Residents Association. We are an incorporated, not-for-profit association working to preserve the unique nature of our neighborhoods. Before I get into why we are in opposition to this application to significantly widen the driveway at 36B McNabb Boulevard, a little factual history is in order. If I could please ask for you to put the attachment 1 of the Residents Association, a letter of objection on the screen, please.
Sure, give us a second. Is this the one you're referring to? It's dated.
Yes, there's 2 pages to it. Yes, thank you. Page 1, yeah, page 1, and then after we're finished with page 1, if we could go to page 2, and I'll be as succinct as possible here. And page 1 of our submission contains a factual error that I would like to correct for the record. The original consent application was not refused by your committee. It was approved, and it was this approval that the City of Toronto appealed to the TLAB. In a September 27, 2019 decision, TLAB adjudicator dismissed the appeal launched by the city. However, in approving this severance by dismissing the city's appeal, the TLAB adjudicator imposed several conditions, of which the most pertinent one for the minor variance application before committee today is that, and I'm going to quote here, the site development shall be constructed substantially in accordance with the site plan and elevations prepared by Rubinoff Design Group dated July 30th, 2019. This site plan clearly indicates that the driveway on the owner's property can be built within the permitted width of 5.89 meters. For those who think like me, I believe this is somewhere around 19 feet in width. A visit to the site, as I have done, reveals that this necessary condition imposed by TLAB was not followed. This being the case, how can this specific request to increase the driveway width by, well, I had it on the 9.37, which was 59%. However, I heard the applicant this afternoon say that that has been reduced. And so it's not as substantial as 59%, but it's not far from there. How can this be considered minor or necessary or appropriate for the specific application given the condition imposed by TLAB? Admittedly, while not relevant to today's application, since requests for minor variance on city land cannot be entertained by this committee, the TLAB adjudicator imposed another condition, Condition 2A, which states, and I'm going to again quote, the driveway shall be a maximum of 3.2 meters wide within the city boulevard. As you can see from the photos here, provided in our letter, the applicant has already significantly widened the driveway in violation of TLAB Condition 2A. In addition, the driveway widening has reduced the permeable surface of the lot, which has triggered another variance related to reduction of landscaping. Please remember that prior to the severance application, 100% of this land was permeable and landscape. Unnecessarily reducing permeable lot surface flies in the face of the city's climate change initiatives. If an applicant is dissatisfied with a TLAB decision, it's our understanding that they have 3 avenues of further review or appeal. They can request TLAB to review their decision. They can bring an application for judicial review or obtain leave to the divisional court. In bringing our submission to a close, at the September 2020 Toronto East York Committee of Adjustment, a minor variance application for a property already adjudicated by TLAB was refused and the jurisdiction was shifted back to TLAB because, like this application, it had already been adjudicated. We urge the members of the Scarborough Committee of Adjustment to act consistently with other Toronto panels by refusing to approve both of these variances as the applicant has not proven why they are necessary or desirable. Thank you for your time, and I'll entertain any questions that committee has.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Members of the committee, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, the only thing I would say, Peter, is that yes, you showed us the photographs, and yes, the driveway width has been widened even within the city's boulevard. It's something that the committee can help you with. It's an enforcement issue. It's a city matter. You need to take it up with, or someone's got to take it up with another department. We can't help you with this. What we're looking at is the application on the private property as it relates to the variances. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, but unfortunately I can't really help you with that particular piece there.
Totally understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there are no questions of Peter, we can go back to Glenn, and perhaps Glenn can respond to the concerns that have been raised by Peter.
Sure, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, the owner of this house, this is only 36B. 36A is not before you today. It's just 36B. This is a new owner, so this was done where the purchaser bought it, was unaware of the whole planning process, removed the hedges as per requirements of the city because they were on the city property, and saw a driveway, a garage, and just really didn't think much about it. He just brought a driveway forward, and then had some discussions, I guess, with the bylaw officer about the issues related to the driveway width. A 3.2 meter driveway entrance is just over 10 feet. And this is a double garage in there. So just from a practical perspective, the curb cut, and I think it may have, I'm not sure that, it's necessarily most practical thing to have it narrow to a single drive. But we are here today with having had some discussions with planning. Planning contacted me and said that the only concern they had was the landscaping. Can we improve it? And we did improve it. Brought it up to quite close to what the requirement is for the lot. But I don't believe the impact of this, the driveway becoming a more normalized two-car entrance, will have an impact on the neighborhood in any negative way. It just means that someone backing out of the driveway isn't going to be turning while they're backing up, and that it is it is a question of trying to appease planning. And this time around, planning was happy to speak with us and was satisfied with our modification. So I do appreciate the concerns expressed, but I do look at the practical aspects of a home and access onto the property, and originally there were hedges along there, and perhaps that was to preserve some of those hedges. But as you know, the city does not like to have residual plantings on their property, and during the time of the construction, they probably requested that it be removed, and that kind of opened up the land in that way. But certainly the driveway is a permeable paver driveway, so I think the concerns related to drainage and whatnot shouldn't be of a big concern, and we are quite close to what the requirement is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, any questions for Glenn? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Glenn, earlier you do mention that the driveway width is 9.37, but it's inclusive of the walkway, and you mentioned some numbers there. Could you just repeat that number? I could not catch it. And the second is, when I was looking at the pictures given by the other speaker in the cover letter, I don't see there was such thing which distinguished between the driveway and walkway. So could you just elaborate on that?
Sure. The driveway itself is 8.23. It's not 9.37. The angle, that's perpendicular to the driveway, so that's where the curb cut is. And then as it comes around towards the house, it widens. The little curve there, you see, if you look at the front of the where the driveway comes and curves, it meets up with the walkway, and that's where the width is taken. It's taken to including the walkway as well. So it's an extra 1.2 meters of additional width, including the walkway. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Said. Any further questions? Member Macaulay.
I had a question. I think I answered it. Occasionally when we get these applications for an over wide driveway, and our concern is and lack of landscaping, our concern really is the permeable amount of material. I believe you have said that this is a permeable driveway and sidewalk, so that the water can percolate through and still retain the groundwater. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it's pavers. It's not paving. It's not like asphalt. It's proper permeable pavers, so it does allow for drainage. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Macaulay. All right, can we have the screen back, please? Thank you. All right. So let's take the matter into committee from here. Members of the committee, excuse me, any questions or comments or discussion? I see none. Okay, if there are no further concerns or comments, can I have a motion, please? And Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am okay with this application, and the variance is minor. So I would like to, I move the motion for approval of this application as amended.
All right, may I have a seconder? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been approved. And there are no,
Through the chair, did you vote on this?
yes, I did.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
I would as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next item, and the next item is 30 James Park? No, sorry, which is it? Yeah, it is James.
Item 11, 30 James Park Square.
Yeah, item 11, 30 James Park Square. Okay, and before we go to the agent, I guess we could go because he's here. So Subramaniam, you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Subramanian. We have your application before us, and do you have any, would you like to make a presentation or go right to the questions and answers?
I'll go right to the questions and answers.
Okay, perfect. So members of the committee, we have this application before us. It's item 11 for 30 James Park Square. There is one variance being requested to permit the minimum permitted, to permit the minimum rear yard setback at 10.58. Okay. Okay, so it's indeed very minor. From 10.89 to 10.58. Any questions for Subramaniam? I see none. All right, thank you. So Subramaniam, there are no questions of the committee right now, but we do have a neighbor who has registered to speak with us. So I'll go to the neighbor. So
Sure.
Staff, can we have Shiyu Liu, please?
Through the chair, we see the neighbor signed in, but it looks like they're not connected to any audio devices. So if they can hear me, please connect a microphone or use your laptop speaker. Thank you.
Okay, staff, can you mute Subramaniam, please? It's causing a lot of feedback. Okay, all right. Shiyu, are you with us?
Issue. You with us? Yeah, yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. So, Shiyu, you've registered to speak with us. Could you advise us on what your concerns are?
Oh, no, no, I don't have any specific concern. I just wanted to attend the hearing.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you for attending and hope you found it interesting. Okay, all right. I will now go back to Subramaniam. So, Subramaniam, you heard your neighbor, Shiyu, who had joined just to participate in the meeting, which is great. It's great to have community attendance. So if you do not have any further comments, I'll take the matter into committee and we'll go for a decision.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. All right, members of the committee. The member of the neighbor who joined was just participating, as you heard. There are no concerns. The application is indeed minor in nature. It's like a foot of a difference for the minimum permitted rear yard setback. If there are no comments, can I please have a motion? And I don't see there's any condition. Huh?
Madam Chair, I think there are two urban forestry conditions.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I should check that with the applicant. So Subramaniam, sorry, I needed to check with you. There are two conditions of urban forestry. Actually, one condition of urban forestry. Are you aware of that condition?
Yes, yes, I aware.
And you have no concerns, right?
No concern at all.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. So now we have a urban forestry condition. Yeah, Member McKay, please go ahead.
Well, Madam Chair, yes, I agree that the variance requested is minor and meets the appropriate tests. So I would move approval of this application subject to the urban forestry condition. Thank you.
All right, may I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion for approval, subject to the urban forestry conditions.
All right, all in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application has been approved for 30 James Park Square, subject to condition of urban forestry. We're going to move to item 12 now. Item 12 is 48 Cotton Avenue. And can we have Peter Jerusik, please?
Committee.
Hi, good afternoon, Peter. Can you hear us?
Oh, that's right. It's afternoon already. Wow, time is flying.
It is, it is. Okay, so Peter, we have your application. We've looked at the materials. You have requested for 5 variances to permit construction of a new two-story detached dwelling. Would you like to make a presentation or would you go right to the questions?
I think it's a very straightforward application, and unless you guys have questions, and I think there might have been someone else that has from the neighbors, I'd like to hear from them, and I can respond back to them.
Okay,
I
sure.
think the variances are very straightforward and minor in nature and meet the 4 tests. So I'd like to hear from the committee or the other neighbors if they have any questions.
Sure. So before I go to the committee or the neighbor, you've read the community planning staff report and they've recommended a condition?
Yes, we've been working with the planning department and made the adjustments to the plans as they recommended, and that is what is before the committee today. Through negotiations through working with the planning department, we have revised the plans, and that's what's before the committee today.
All right, thank you very much for confirming that. And members of the committee, any questions for Peter before we go and speak with the neighbor? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just curious about Mr. Peter, is variance number 2, which says that the height, the wall height is 7.9, close to 8 meter. May I know what's the height of the building? And it's a flat roof building, so the height of the roof will be more than 8 meter. I assume, unless you clarify on that. And if that's the case, is the variance related to the height of the roof as well, the building as well?
Great. If you can bring up the roof elevation here as we have it. We've been working with the municipality, and so the 7.96, we've reduced that to come up to the 7.965. The zoning notice came in with that, and they've made a request for us to try to reduce it. The majority of the roof in this instance is lower to that level. There was only one section, which was the part over the garage, that we just had that one room with a slightly larger roof just to create some different projection or add a little bit more character to the elevation. So the city has requested if we can bring that down more into compliance, and though we didn't have time to upload the revised plans, we did revise the numbers on the notice to make that comply with the for that lower number, which brings it to 7.952. So it's that section right above the garage that's slightly higher. But if you look at the remaining part of the house, it is at a lower elevation, and that's what we have brought that higher part to that level to bring it to the 7.965.
So, Mr. Peter, the wall height is 7.965 meters. So what's the height of the building?
The height of the building is the same as 7.965.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions before we move on to the neighbor? I see none. Okay, all right. Huh? All right, so we're gonna, thank you, Peter. Just stay tuned. We'll come back to you. So we now go to the resident, Darren Jalise.
Through the chair, Darren is not present.
Perfect, thank you very much. So it has been confirmed that Darren has not signed in today. So coming back to Peter, so Peter, the neighbor has not signed in. I think you addressed the questions of one of the members. Before I take the matter into committee, any closing remarks? It's a straightforward application, as you mentioned.
Tests we've been working, it does meet the 4 tests. We've been working with planning department, and that's why they've requested that we do it in accordance with the attached drawings, in substantial accordance with the drawings. So, and we're fine with all those requirements.
And you're aware of the urban forestry conditions as well, right?
We are.
Okay, thank you. Okay, committee members, I come to you now. Take the matter into committee. Any comment, Member Macaulay?
I'm prepared to put forth the motion unless there's any comments.
I have not seen any hand raised, so I guess you can proceed with your motion.
Thank you. I propose approval of the variance application, subject to the condition that it be built in accordance with the plans as provided by community planning and their site plan. It appears to be appropriate, maintains the purpose of the zoning bylaw, and is desirable for the development of the area.
And conditions of urban forestry and community planning?
I add conditions of community planning, and I'll add conditions of urban forestry.
Thank you. Seconder, Member Said, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion for approval of item 12, subject to the condition of community planning staff report recommendations and urban forestry conditions.
Okay, all in favor of this motion? And the motion is carried and the application has been approved subject to conditions. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
We now go to item 13, and item 13 is 6 Glen Muir Drive. And we have the applicant, Peter Jurusik.
Good afternoon, committee. How are you this afternoon?
Yes, long time we haven't talked to you, eh?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So Peter, again, do you want to make a presentation or dive to the questions?
I would like to make a short presentation on this. I just want to bring, we before the committee here with 4 variances. One is for floor space index, building length, building depth, and front and rear balcony variances. I know that there's 2 letters in opposition regarding this. One is the Ratepayers Association group, and one is from a neighbor down the road. We have, my client has circulated this and has had meaningful conversations with all the neighbors directly affected on the adjacent, across the street, and behind him regarding this application. And there is letters of support that have been provided to the committee from these adjacent neighbors. I know the issues regarding some of the opposition letters were mainly due to number 1 and 4 comments. Number 1 being the floor space index. I want to draw to the attention on the site plan for the committee that we are not requesting any side yard, any height variances here. We are complying with the massing requirements of the zoning bylaw. The issue regarding the length and the building length and building depth is because we're building underneath the covered porch in the backyard. But the actual house that is actually 2-story house does not exceed 17.2 meters in length, and the requirement is 17. We are requesting 20.93, but that is because of the rear deck is going to have a room underneath it and is slightly elevated. slightly elevated. That's why we required the lengthened deck. Now, originally that deck in the back, which was going to be a fully covered deck on the ground floor, and my client did have a desire to have it fully covered on the second floor. The neighbors had no concern with it, either to the left side of him or to the right side of him that have a direct impact to that deck. However, we recognize in conversations with the client, we recognize the rear balcony of 29.63 might be an issue. So he is wanting to reduce that to 10.5. So I don't know if that's possible at this point with the committee, but variance 4, where it says the rear balcony is 29.63, we reduced it to only the width of the master bedroom, which would only be 10.5 meters squared, where 4 is permitted by bylaw. That is the only change we're requesting, is the 29.63 balcony. He's reducing the roof, reducing the railing part of the balcony for the master to only be 10.5. And as that, I believe it meets all the 4 tests. The issue with the floor space index, our massing does comply. We're allowed 3-foot setbacks, or 0.9 meter setbacks. My client wants to have space between his neighbors and actually has increased that to 1.4 meters on both sides, to give it a little bit more room between the neighbors, which is above and beyond the zoning bylaw here. So I believe we've built a dwelling here that does meet the 4 tests. Reductions to the floor space can be done by just removing some rooms on the inside and making open to above, but that will not affect the outside look or massing of the building. That's why we're requesting the 0.49 times floor space index as well.
Okay, thanks, Peter. So just want to confirm that you are modifying variance number 4. For the proposed rear balcony, it will have an area of 10 square meters?
10.5.
10.5.
10.5. Yes.
Okay, so variance 4 modified, the second bit of it, proposed rear balcony will have an area of 10.5 square meters.
Through the chair, we will show the requested modification on the screen.
Perfect. Okay, so staff has updated the notice to reflect the modified variance to 10.5 square meters. Okay. All right. Is that all, Mr. Jurasik? Oh, Anne, you have a question? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
If you could just, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
We can.
You can hear me. Okay. If you could just confirm, I think you said the building length is 29.63, and that length is the length in the basement that is greater than the length in the front, in the main floor, first and second floors. Other committees of adjustment have kind of raised this issue elsewhere in Toronto and consider it an iceberg where the underground is larger than the above ground. Can you just confirm that that is what you're proposing here?
That is correct. At the rear of the house, we have a covered balcony, like a sitting area, and my client just proposes to have like a cold cellar storage room underneath that deck. So it's going to be a concrete covered porch at the rear, and he'd like to have a storage room underneath for future to store his patio furnitures or whatnot. And because it is a room below that deck, it is now counted in the depth of the building. But the actual above ground house is only 17.27 meters.
Just so I can understand, that room under the deck, is that connected to your foundation, or is it just another room down there?
It's connected to the foundation. It'll be a finished room. He wants to in the future make a pool in the back, and instead of building a separate room for like a cabana, he wants to put a change room area there, a little washroom there, so the kids can come down straight from the staircase and change and use the washroom without building a separate cabana in the backyard. So he wants to incorporate that underneath the covered area there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No more questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Macaulay and Peter. Okay, so let's move on and speak to, if I can have the screen back, we can speak to our neighbor, Evelyn. Evelyn. You're with us, Evelyn?
Turn off the TV.
Evelyn, are you with us? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I had the wrong one. My apologies for that. My apologies. Rick Hurst. I was looking at the wrong one. Rick Hurst.
Hello.
Yes, Rick, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Rick Hurst, and I live at 25 Glenmuir Drive. I've lived in Scarborough for 65 years, and I've lived in this immediate area for 35 years. My wife and I have raised 4 children here, and fortunately for us, we are watching 2 of our grandchildren grow up in this neighborhood. I would ask if you could pull up attachment 3, the proposed frontal overlay. It's included in the Resident Association Letter of Opposition.
Is that the one you're referring to?
I'm on a cell phone.
Oh, so we have your the letter from the association, and we have the page that shows the 2 photos.
Yeah, there's a proposed frontal overlay depicting the building on the lot.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yes, we have it on the screen. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I've spent my entire career in the building industry, including residential home construction, and I'm supportive of development that respects the existing characteristics of a neighborhood, but I strenuously oppose overdevelopment, which removes the healthy tree canopy, reduces privacy, and really truly doesn't respect the built form of existing homes. I think that this proposal doesn't meet the intent and purpose of Toronto's official plan, which, as you know, is one of the tests that applications must meet. I'm reading a direct state here. It says development in established neighborhoods will respect and reinforce the existing physical character of each geographic neighborhood, including in particular prevailing heights, massing, scale, density, and dwelling type of nearby residential properties. So my wife and I moved to various homes in this immediate neighborhood, and I just recently retired. My plans were to stay here for the duration, but we are concerned about the changes that are happening within our neighborhood. The homes are getting approved by the COA, are well beyond the generous zoning guidelines, and are changing the prevailing character of our neighborhood and impacting, this kills me, impacting the affordability of single-family dwellings in our neighborhood. In this application, as you know, there are 4 variances beyond the generous zoning guidelines. And up until just now, when Peter mentioned he's decreased the size of the back addition, I have one variance that I would like to contest. And that's the application for floor area, which is 0.49 times the lot area, which is 372 square meters, 22.5% larger than permitted. That's not a minor variance, and nor is it in character of our immediate neighborhood. Our street mainly consists of bungalows, story-and-a-half homes. There is one recent development at 42B Glenmuir that is a new 2-story home, but it is just within the floor area zoning guidelines. Number 4, I can't comment on because it appears that they've decreased the size of the footprint, it looks like. But in closing, we welcome and support positive development in our neighborhood. The requested variances in this application are not minor and not within the prevailing character of our neighborhood. I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Rick, for your time. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Rick? I see none. All right. Thank you. We're going to move to our next speaker, Peter Thachik. Peter, you're with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, committee?
Yes, we can hear you, Peter. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, committee members. This can get confusing because, again, we have another Peter. In any event, I am a member of the CLIFFCREST Scarborough Village Southwest Residents Association. We are Incorporated Residents Association, which is registered and recognized by the City of Toronto. The Residents Association is working to preserve the unique nature of our neighborhoods and does not support the application to replace the dwelling located at 6 Muir Drive. I understand now, I'm not able to see you right now, but I understand you do have attachment number 1 of that is a picture of the existing home at 6 Glenmuir Drive. It's in the Residents Association letter of objection.
That's what we have. It's on the screen right now.
Thank you very much. Okay. We are supportive of development that respects the existing characteristics of our neighborhood, but strenuously oppose overdevelopment, which reduces the healthy tree canopy, reduces privacy, and does not respect the built form of existing homes. We believe that this proposal does not meet the intent and purpose of Toronto's official plan 4.1.5. I'm wondering if you could please put up attachment number 3, which has the proposed frontal overlay included in our letter of opposition.
Okay, so it's up on the screen.
Thank you. And in this application, there are 4 variances beyond the generous zoning guidelines, but we are strenuously opposed to 2 of the 4 variances being requested. Now, we've just found out about the one being reduced, so I'll address that in a moment. But however, this application is requesting for variance number 1, a floor area of 0.49 times the lot area, or 372.73 meters squared. This is 22.5% larger than permitted. In our opinion, 22.5% is not minor, and it's not in the character of the immediate neighborhood. Glenmuir Drive consists of 41 homes between Little Rock Drive and Bellamy Road. Over 90% of the homes on Glenmuir are 1 and 1.5 story homes that are affordable. This is the character of this established neighborhood. The prevailing size of the neighboring bungalows is 121.05 meters squared, ranging from 95.78 to 325.16 meters squared. At 372.73 meters squared, the proposed dwelling exceeds the measure of central tendency by more than 3 times, or 300%. The proposed FSOI of 0.49 is well outside the current range, including the recently newly built 42B Glenmuir. It's not in keeping with the massing of our neighborhood and fails to meet the intent and purpose of official plan policy 4.15C. Now the variance 4, the size of the balcony. This application has been reduced to, I believe it's 10.4 meters squared. However, this is still larger than what's permitted. And we still have the opinion that this request is not minor. CSVSWRA, our community association, has noticed a trend with applicants to not answer or give vague answers to the question on the application form. Why is it not possible to comply with the zoning bylaws? In this case, the applicant's answer, they noted that new design to better fit the needs of modern family and enhances character of the community. We feel that this does not answer the question, why is it not possible to comply? We believe that the committee needs to ask applicants, especially those that are making this their business, why did you design this home this way when you know what the bylaw standards are? What makes your property so different from every other lot in the neighborhood that your plans are deserving of special consideration? We also noticed on the application information center that after the deadline for actually, I'm sorry, I'm just going to end there. I just want to say in closing, we welcome and support positive development in our neighborhood, but the requested variances in this application are not minor and not within the prevailing character of our neighborhood. Thank you for providing us the opportunity to address you this afternoon.
Thank you, Peter, for your time. Right on 5 minutes. So that's great. So I will go to the committee members and see if they have any questions for you. I do not have the questions, so thank you for your time, Peter. I'm going to go back to Peter Jerusik now, the applicant.
Yes, if the committee could bring up that attachment 3, that's been this infamous image that they've been putting on from the CLIFFCREST community. This is something that's been constantly presented to the committee in terms of graphics like this. This is a false representation of the development. Number one, you see a car there, a real car by reference, and some space between the curb and the car. That cars typically of that size are about 15 feet. This house currently is positioned 15 to 20 feet too close to the road. If you look at our site plan shows the house beyond the hedges on the left-hand side. And that is through discussion with our neighbors. Our neighbors wanted to know, are we going to preserve the hedges? And we said, yes, we are bringing the houses in 1.4 meters, and those hedges are preserved. From the curb to our house, we are 14 meters. Yet that image that they misrepresent, showing how the house is going to look at the street, does not reflect what is actually being built. If you look at actually our previous their attachment number 1, which is the existing house, if you take it back two pages on that slide, or 1 page, our proposed house is in line where this existing house starts, because we're not requesting any front yard setbacks, any side yard setbacks, any rear yard setbacks, any coverage or any height variances. So the mention was we have to keep in the massing of the community and the bylaws. The massing does comply with the bylaw. Floor space index is an arbitrary number on how much square feet you can fit inside the house. Our massing, again, mentioning that the additional length and depth is only for the deck below grade at the back, but the majority of the house does meet the requirements of zoning for the massing. All we have to do is if the committee finds it not appropriate for the 0.49, is to create open to above spaces on the inside of the house to reduce our square footage, which will not change the massing of the house. So we do meet the massing requirements of the zoning bylaw for setbacks, heights, and coverage. So I disagree with the previous speaker regarding that. I believe.
But Peter, sorry if I may, you've also asked for increase in building length as well.
No, I agree, and that's why I reiterated that the building length is only to ask for that below grade deck. If we had that deck in the back as unexcavated, then our building request would only be for building length of 17.27, where 17 is permitted, and our building depth would have been in compliance with 19 meters. It is only because the building length is going to the back of the deck because we wish to excavate under that deck. But if we made it an unexcavated deck, then we're only requesting 17.27 meters length. But the massing is everything above grade. And even though that deck does come up maybe a foot or two, it does not go higher than the fence line and does not impact our neighbors. I'd like to reiterate also, we do have letters of support from our immediate adjacent neighbors across the street behind us and a few doors down, because our client has lived in this house and wishes to continue to live in this house. They have been in this house and they wish to continue to live in this house. They just want to expand because they currently have that smaller house that they want to now expand. They've been in this house for about 10 years. And now it's time for them to expand bigger. So they're not a member. It's not a recently sold property where builders coming in. they have a presence in the community. That's why they have reached out to their neighbors they've lived with adjacent to for years and said, we now want to expand as their kids have now grown up, they want to expand the dwelling in itself.
So
So
Peter, just a clarification. So I understand the building length pertains to, because you have to excavate for the deck. That's how the building length will be calculated.
Correct.
But the deck itself is would be a traditional wooden deck with.
No, it's a concrete deck because there's a room underneath it. So it's like a porch.
Oh, I see.
It's a concrete porch.
Understood. Okay. Oh, I got it.
Right.
So the building
due
length
to
is
the
being
fact
measured
that it's
there.
a concrete deck, because it's a concrete deck with a room below it.
Understood.
That is what that's why now the building length is calculated to the edge of that. If we built a wood deck, the building would have been only 17.27 and the depth variance would have complied. But he doesn't want to disturb his backyard and build other cabanas or outhouses. So, he wants to use that space underneath it. But on the second floor there, we have reduced that roof line to the 10 square meters, and the roof on the second floor will not be as large as shown on the submitted drawings. And I also like to reiterate, our neighbors directly adjacent that are affected by any balcony, we're okay with this one. But due to the fact with neighborhood communities having issues with it, he's reduced it only to the width of that sliding door in the master bedroom in the back. So it'll only be 18 by 14 feet wide. That's it.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
And we missed the deadline. As I corrected that, we missed the deadline of April 1st to submit it. So that's why I'm verbally requesting that change.
Okay, thanks, Peter, for that clarification. So now my understanding of the building length. Okay, members of the committee. Okay, sorry, before I go, do you have anything left? I think your time's up, though.
We meet the 4 tests, in my
Okay.
opinion, and I leave it into the committee's hands and are able to answer any other questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Committee members? Any questions? All right, I don't see any questions for you, Peter. So just want to confirm with you before you go. 13, so there's conditions of urban forestry that you're aware of?
We are.
And of course, you mentioned the community planning staff report recommendation, and you're fine with that condition?
Yes, we are.
And you have modified the application for the rear balcony to be at 10.5 square meters.
We have, yes.
Perfect, thank you. I now take the matter into committee. Committee members, any comments, any thoughts? Okay, if there aren't any comments, then can I please have a motion? Oh, Member Macaulay, go ahead, please.
I'm prepared to put forth the motion. I just want to make sure from staff that if we put in the condition that it be built in accordance with the plans as submitted, that can include the modification for that platform to be reduced to 10.5 meters squared. Staff,
yeah,
confirm that.
Through the chair, should the committee wish to approve it, it would be approved as amended, subject to the community planning and urban forestry conditions. The fact that the plans be substantially in accordance with. It would need to meet the variances that are being requested. Because the variances are being reduced, the plans would need to be.
Right. Yeah. So once the drawings are going to be revised, they would be sort of tied in with, and sort of generally under the banner of substantially in accordance with the approved plans, provided they meet the variances as well. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I did not see any hand raised for any question or comment. So please go ahead with your motion, Member Macaulay.
Okay. Thank you. We have seen a number of new houses in the CLIFFCREST community, and I recognize that change is happening. I think what we have to look at is whether the change is appropriate to the area and desirable. We can't expect that we're going to get one-story bungalows for time housing all the time, and that's not going to remain. There is expecting a change. I think this application actually addresses a number of changes and does in fact address some of the issues that have come up over and over again with the community, with the building setback, with the size of platforms, and there isn't an increase in the overall height here. So I propose approval of this application, subject to accordance with community planning, and that takes into consideration the reduction of the size of the platform. I believe it is appropriate for the community. And I guess there's forestry conditions as well, sorry. So the recommend approval subject to the two conditions, forestry and community planning.
Through the chair, approve as amended. I think that's what, just to confirm, approve as amended subject to community planning and urban forestry conditions. I just want to clarify that that is the motion.
Okay, that if that clarifies that the platform is reduced to 10.5 meters squared, I'm satisfied with that. Thank you, staff.
Okay, may I have a seconder? Don't have to repeat it, just second the motion, just to avoid any confusion. May I have a seconder, please? Member Said, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion for approval with the conditions as mentioned.
Okay, all right. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application has been approved as amended with conditions. Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Okay, we're going to move to our next item, item number 14. Item 14 is 32 Canham Crescent. And can I have the agent Shenshu Zhang, please? Thank you. Shenshu, you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, good afternoon, Madam Chair and the committee members. My name is Shenshu Zhang, architect and representing the owner of the property. So we proposed a two-story new house to replace the existing one. We submitted a various application with 4 variances, actually 3 items. The first item is about the floor area ratio. The bylaw permitted 290 square meters. We proposed 405 square meters GFA. And then the second and the fourth, the same variance is related to the building height. The both bylaw requires permits 9 meter height. We proposed 9.25 meter height. And the third one is the deck in the rear yard. The bylaws permit 2.5 projection into the rear yard. We proposed 2.9 meters. That means 0.4 meter more projection to the rear yard. And that is, we also reviewed the comments from the neighbor. And I think if you have any question or the neighbors have questions, we are ready to answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Shenshu. Members of the committee, any questions for Shenshu? Okay, I see none. All right, Shenshu, thank you for your time. We have a registered speaker to speak on this application, so we'll come back to you if you have any further questions. Okay, can we have Mary Salios, please, the neighbor?
Through the chair, Mary is not present.
Thank you very much for confirming. So members of the committee and Shenshu, the registered speaker, Mary Salios, is not with us today. All right, so members of the committee, any question before we take the matter into committee? And I just want to make sure there's conditions. So Shenshu, are you aware of conditions of urban forestry? There are two conditions.
Hi. Yes, we know that.
Okay, and you have no concerns with it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So before I go, any closing remarks?
No.
All right.
I'm ready to answer the question.
Okay, thank you, Shenshu. Members of the committee, let's take the matter into committee now. Any thoughts, any comments? I see none. All right. Then can I please have a motion on the application? And there are conditions of urban forestry. Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand that the variances before the committee, all 4 variances, they are minor in nature, appropriate development. Mr. Sinchu has the understanding of urban forestry conditions. With that background, I move the motion for approval of this application, subject to the condition of urban forestry.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member McKay, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I would second that motion to approve, subject to the urban forestry condition.
All in favor of this motion? And the motion, okay. All opposed? Okay. Member Macaulay opposes the motion. Motion is carried and the application is approved. Okay, and moving to our last item, sorry, before we do that, the decision's been made and it's done, right? Okay. Moving to the next and the last item, item 16, 24 Woodland Park Road. And can we have the agent, Deep Sahota, with us, please? Deep, are you with us?
Hello?
Yes, Deep, we can hear you.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. So thank you for joining us. Deep, we have your application before us. This is 24 Woodland Park Road, and the application is for permissions to construct a rear yard deck to an existing house. You're requesting a lot coverage variance. Would you like to make a presentation, or would you rather go right into the questions?
I believe the variance we're requesting is very minor in nature, and pretty straightforward. So if the committee members would like me to present this, I'm happy to, or else I can answer any questions you have.
Perfect. All right, members of the committee, would you like to have Deep make a presentation? Member Macaulay?
Yes, if the applicant would make a presentation, I see that he's wanting to build a rear deck for a coverage of 46% of the area, whereas the previous variances permitted 39%. I think my question here is, we've had a number of applications on Woodland Park Road. We've just got an LPAT decision on this, and the issue is both the size of the houses and the development in the rear yard. And so, although he's not increasing the size of the house, he got a variance in 2006 to do that. He is building a substantial rear deck, which would diminish the green space in the backyard, which apparently from previous applications we know is quite a feature in this community. So if the applicant would address that.
Absolutely. So if we look at the proposal in terms of what was there and what we're asking for, the existing deck was about 11 feet deep, and we're requesting a deck which is 16 feet deep, 4.9 meters. So we're basically just asking for a deck which is 5 feet bigger. And it, if you look at the complete proposal, it's not really reducing the green space by a lot. However, it's just that the zoning is framed in a manner which includes the deck within the lot coverage if it's more than 5%, and we're just slightly above that. So if we were to make this deck back to 11 feet deep, it wouldn't even be considered as part of the lot coverage.
Just a question for clarification, Deep. What's the,
Yeah.
just for the deck itself, what's the percentage?
Just give me a moment. I don't have that
So
ready in front of me.
46.16 minus 39.3, because as you mentioned, the deck is adding to the lot coverage, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's only the deck that is causing the lot coverage increase. So I would say roughly 7% approximately.
It should be about that
Oh,
much.
okay. All right, approximately 6.8 or 7. All right, thank you very much. So,
No problem.
Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you mentioned correctly, that approximately the net effect for this variance is about 6.86%, the additional thing which over here. But Madam Chair, I will go back to the previous decision, because this is a cumulative effect over the lot coverage, and the variance before the committee, the variance number 1, is clearly stating about the lot coverage. So, and Deep will further elaborate on that. The maximum lot coverage which was allowed for this property was actually 33%, but the Committee of Adjustment in one of its meetings allowed it to 39.3%, which was an increase of 6.3%. And now the applicant is asking another increase into the lot coverage, as you said, 6.86%. So if we take the cumulative effect of the increase in the lot coverage from 33% to the current increase, the net effect is 13.16%. And to me, this is a big increase. So I would like Deep to elaborate on this net effect on the increase of the lot area.
Absolutely. So yes, I do agree. If we're looking at that net increase, it does seem like a big number. However, the actual percentage we're increasing is 39.3 plus 5. So we are permitted to build up to 44.3%, and we are requesting for 46.16%, which would be about 2% additional, because up to 5% the deck wouldn't be part of the lot coverage. And in terms of the green space as well, we're still the land on the underside of the deck is still permeable. It's not going to affect the lot drainage as much. As much as the appearance. It's just a little bit extra that we're requesting. I hope that answered your question.
Member Said, are you satisfied with that response?
I still believe, because, in any way, looking at the variance number first, and I have to look what's the variance before the committee is Deep. And the variance number 1, yes, your deck has exceeded a limit of 5% of the lot coverage. That's why it has been included as the total lot coverage. So if you can reduce the size of that deck, perhaps this variance would have not been there. But since it is there, the deck size is more than 5% of the lot coverage, and the net effect is not that small, which apparently look like, which you are mentioning. As I told you, you have to take into consideration the increase from 33% to 39%.
But I understand that, Member Said, but that 39% was for, and maybe that's something that Deep can clarify, that 39% lot coverage through the previous application, that was related to the building itself, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so now so that was for a larger building and larger lot coverage for the building itself. I hear what you mean, but I'm trying to separate the two things. So now
I'm sorry, if I may add to it, it's
Sure.
for shed, building, and the porch.
Okay, so 39 was for the shed, the existing shed, the building, and the deck.
That's right. The porch in the front.
The porch at the front. Okay, all right. And now the deck can go up to 5% of the lot coverage. I guess decks have separate permissions for lot coverage. So if you look at the deck itself, just the deck, it's going from 5% to 6.8%.
That's correct.
But you're right. Remember, Said, I hear your comments that the cumulative effect, if you look at the lot coverage, it's incrementally built up, where with shed and with the porch and now with the deck. It's incrementally being increased. Okay. All right, so maybe we can go to the next question. Member Macaulay?
I guess, again, just clarification. As I said, the issue in this part of the municipality has been the outside rear yards and the amount of space and the amount of greenery in the rear yards. What we're actually asked to approve is a deck and a hot tub and maybe a shed that are all taking away from that greenery in the backyard. Is there any zoning issues that deal with the amount of open space in your backyard? Once we've got to this gross floor area coverage, I guess, well, I'm going to ask the applicant. He should have gone through with the planners as to how this fits into the amount of landscaped area on the property.
If it's not identified as a variance, Member Macaulay, then there's no requirement for landscape in that area. It's not in the variance. There's no variance requested for open space.
And nothing for rear yard.
Nothing for rear yard. The only thing that's being requested is the lot coverage from 33 to 46.16, granted that the previous COA had approved it at 39.3%. And the community planning staff report, which is attached to our agendas, does not have any concerns with the open space. In fact, they reference that in March, the committee approved a similar application.
I also have one more point to add to that concern. The deck height is only 2 feet 6 inches. It's not a significantly high deck, so it's not going to affect the appearance of the open space in the backyard significantly. If the deck was just 6 inches lower, we wouldn't require a permit anyways, but that's how the client wanted it, and we're just a little specific on it.
Okay, perfect. All right, we have 2 registered speakers waiting for us, so let's move on, and we can always come back to more questions later on. Okay, so staff, can we please have Evelyn?
Well, it's your turn.
Hi, Evelyn.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can certainly hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm here to speak with the committee because I don't believe this application is appropriate for the neighborhood due to the deck size and the small lot sizes, as the majority of the homes in our neighborhood are bungalows. This going from 33%, basically they were approved for a larger home, and now you're bumping it out with the deck. This just pushes the deck even further back. These are not large lots. I'm sorry, I don't have my deed in front of me, but I'm thinking 33 feet. I'm sorry, I don't want to make a mistake, but I didn't pull up my deed. These are not big lots. These are relatively small properties. And I just think that the coverage of this deck, the pushing out of this deck is going to affect, neighbors. And the thing is, when you walk out of your bungalow and you've got this deck, these decks typically now are used spring, summer, and fall. And if he's going to be looking over into my yard and I have a bungalow, in order for me to get privacy, he may put up a privacy wall, but if not, I'm going to have to go to the back of my bungalow to have, privacy and to have quietness. If he puts up a privacy wall, then my sight line is no longer available. I'm coming out, I'm looking at a large fence instead of looking at mature trees and gardens, which we're used to. We used to have a beautiful sight line with mature trees and gardens. And I think for this reason, it doesn't fit this neighborhood. I think because the vast majority of us are still bungalows, there is some development, and this has pushed this deck way out. And that's the case I'm making. So I'm hoping you will consider this. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So I have a question. So when you say it's not the character of your neighborhood, it's not about the house. We're not here to talk about the two-story house. I understand most of these are bungalows. Yeah, is your reference to the character for the decks?
I'm sorry, could you tell me the sentence that I said, because I don't remember what I said there. I was just speaking. I think the character, if I said anything just about the yard itself with the mature gardens and the mature trees, and now this deck is being pushed out because of the extra size of the home, now an extra size of a deck. So when you come out of your bungalow, you come out of your home, he'll probably put a privacy fence there, we'll probably be looking at that. And I just think that it takes away from the privacy of the neighborhood, of yards.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, thank you for clarifying. Members of the committee, any questions for Evelyn? I see none. Okay, thank you very much. Now we are going to go to our next speaker, Vanessa and Todd Burden. Okay, can we mute?
Hi, it's just.
Oh, okay.
Hi, this is Vanessa speaking.
Yes, Vanessa, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm a resident of 20 Woodland Park Road. I'm 2 houses south of the home with the proposal for the deck. Sorry, that's my toddler.
That's okay.
Sorry, let me get my thoughts together here.
No problem.
The property with the proposal is already one of the largest on the block, and it does obstruct our sight line from our backyard. We have young kids at home, and we like to utilize the space in the backyard as much as possible. My main concern with the deck is just losing more of our privacy in our backyard. We have a chain link fence, so we can pretty much see straight through, which is great. I mean, we like to say hi to the neighbors, and that's fine, but with the depth of the house already being the size it is, and then having an additional outdoor living space, I suppose, they're going to be out there quite a bit. I'm just concerned about our privacy in our yard, and then again, losing some of our sun. If they were to put up a canopy back there or some umbrellas, it may obstruct our sun in our backyard as well.
Okay, so your concern is with the privacy because of the raised deck that is being proposed, although you're 2 properties down, but you think that there will be privacy issues.
Yeah, because the house in between mine and the proposal is also a bungalow. So that house extends quite a bit back compared to mine and the neighbors between the 2, as it is.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
It's not a problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's move on and go back to Deep Sahota. Deep. would you like to provide, could you please
Yes.
confirm how high is your, is the deck?
It's 2 feet 6 inches high.
And is there a reason why this cannot be lowered?
The client just wanted it to be aligned with the equipment they had around the deck. They just didn't want, like, I believe there's an air conditioner or something there, which they didn't want it to be higher than the deck, and that's basically it.
Okay, so
And I
that's,
think also it just kind of aligns with the basement windows, the top of the basement window lines. It's just an aesthetic matter for them, just to have it 6 inches higher. And to address both the previous speakers' comments, if we were to, I believe we could still build this deck 2 feet high without a permit, and it would cause similar privacy issues, even if it was 2 feet higher. But I think it's just a matter of 6 inches higher than
what's permitted?
yeah.
But
That's
two,
what we're
okay.
requesting here.
Okay, all right, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so you heard the neighbors' concerns regarding privacy. The next door, two neighbors south, and I believe one of the neighbors was the one backing onto this property. What are your thoughts? How would you like to respond?
So, as I said, if we were gonna have the deck built 6 inches lower than what's permitted, we would still have those issues. And I think so our request isn't really to be able to build that deck. It's just we're requesting to be able to build it 6 inches higher than what we need a permit for.
Okay, but a point was raised that it may have been avoided if the house was not further pushed. I believe through your previous applications, you did have a larger house. So now that you're adding a deck, it's kind of pushed back by default, right? So that's what the concern was.
Right. Again, if we're considering our application as is just 6 inches lower, I think that would still not address their concerns. They would still have those privacy concerns.
Okay.
And we are entitled to build that deck the same size, just 6 inches lower, or we can even shrink the depth of the deck, but those concerns would still remain.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Macaulay.
No.
A question to the applicant, if I may. There's been questions about privacy in the backyard, and you're building this deck, and off of the deck you're building a hot tub. I assume that hot tub doesn't need any building permits. It's just yet another item in the backyard. With
it's already there.
The hot tub's already there?
Yes.
Okay. With the new deck, deck's not there, right?
Not the deck we're proposing on the drawings. There is a deck which is just 5 feet smaller than this one.
Oh, okay. So you've already built a deck with this new house, but now you're wanting to build a bigger deck. Is that correct?
They want to rebuild it, yes, because the condition isn't, it's not in a great condition. So they wanted to rebuild it and just extend it out 5 feet further than what was there.
When the house was rebuilt, was the existing deck there? When you say it's not in good condition, I'm kind of confused.
I won't be able to answer that question right away, just because I wasn't involved in that previous application myself, and I don't have the homeowner here with me to be able to answer that.
Okay. My other question actually goes back to what the community is saying here, and that's the issue of privacy. Do you have are you proposing any privacy fencing here?
No, we're not proposing any privacy fences. But seemed like one of the speakers wasn't in favor of privacy fences either, because they didn't want to look at it, which is why I didn't suggest that option. But if absolutely needed, we can consider privacy fences. But I think at the end of the day that maybe it'll still be an issue for the neighbors. I really would like to point this out to the committee that even if we are. Sure, okay.
All right. Okay, let's move on. Any further questions? All right, I see none. Okay, thank you very much, Deep, for your time today. Let's take the matter into committee. Committee members, any final thoughts? I just want to make a comment that there's no request for any rear yard setback reduction. There's no request for any height or the height of the deck. It is the size of the deck that's causing the increase in the lot coverage. That's what it is. That's what's before us today. So just want to keep that in perspective as well. Yes, Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, that's why I will only focus on the variance number 1. And variance number 1 is totally talking about the lot coverage. I think, in my opinion, the Committee of Adjustment in its previous meeting have already granted a relaxation in the lot coverage to the applicant, which was 6.3%. And that make the coverage already, it's a bigger house, but they now want to push it further back and with the deck size, all that. So still, I am not convinced with that, Madam Chair. And in my opinion, the applicant should stay within that limits, which were already approved by the Committee of Adjustment in their previous meeting. And I think a further increase in the lot coverage by 6.86%, the total of which is 13.16%, is not a minor variance in my opinion, and I won't be able to support that application.
Okay. Any other member? Okay. If there are no other further thoughts, can I have a motion, please? Member Macaulay.
I wish to say I do have a problem with the size of the coverage granting is 46.16%. I have with that, although I realize it's only for a deck, but there already have been issues with open space and privacy in this in these rear yards. That's all my comments.
Okay. All right, members. I need a motion. Member Said, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the background of our discussions within the committee, I move the motion for refusal of this application.
Can I have a seconder, please? Member McKay.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yes, I second that motion to refuse this application.
All in favor of this motion? All opposed? The motion is carried. So Member Igor and I voted against the motion, but the motion's carried and the application has been refused. All right, thank you very much for all those who joined us today for the morning session. We're going to, so the morning session is has ended now. We will resume in, how long do we need a break for?
Should we, it's 1:53 right now, should we reconvene at 2:30?
Committee members, 2:30? Okay, sounds good.
So through the chair, just for the viewers on YouTube, we will be reconvening the hearing at 2:30 with the PM session. Please, to view the PM session, click on the PM link on the YouTube, on the City Planning YouTube channel.
Thanks, everyone. See you at 2:30.